across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Happy Saturday, one and all. Mark Dolan, Talk, Breakfast and Breaking. As we come on air, Starmer knows it's over. If Andy Burnham wins the Makerfield by-election, it's our understanding that the Prime Minister will throw in the towel. Now, under those circumstances, an orderly transition following a rubber-stamping leadership election will see Britain under new management by the autumn. But with the Manchester Mayor's ambitions to take Britain back into the European single market, which would see the return of free movement, with serious questions about Burnham's handling of the grooming gang scandal in the Northwest, with his flip-flopping on policy, with some wacky ultra-woke ideas and with an ultra-left-wing economic agenda, is Andy Burnham really the answer for Britain? What are your thoughts on this? We're stuck with a Labour government for the next 3 years. Is Andy Burnham the answer? 0344 499 1000 is my number. Meanwhile, today sees the Unite the Kingdom march, and I've got a simple question. Are you going? Are you going to this event? And if so, tell me why. 0344 499 1000. We will bring full, unbiased reporting on what's happening in central London. We're expecting upwards of 500,000 people to attend this event. Unite the Kingdom, are you going, and if so, why? Now, establishment media will have you believe these folk are extremists, that they're racists. Or are they patriots? What is it? You tell me. Now, you can text the word TALK in your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note and let's talk. So, Unite the Kingdom, are you going? And if so, do tell me why. Can this country be saved, do you think? Now, we've got the dream team today. Executive producer Dean Spencer back in the hot seat. Directing our TV output is the excellent Luke today, who I think has had a haircut. He looks very handsome. You can hear us on the radio, DAB+, in-app and online. The very DNA of the Talk brand is in radio, but of course you can watch it because it's a TV show now. You can see my amazing guests and watch Dolan's Dispatch. Head to YouTube, search up the word Talk, hit the live button and up we pop. Tommy's taking your calls, 0344 499 1000. Are you going to Unite the Kingdom? If so, do tell me why. And is Andy Burnham the answer for Britain? Tommy's on the phones. And I'm delighted to say a brand new engineer on the show. The excellent George is pressing the buttons. I'm sounding better already. Let's go. And we will kick off with the front pages. I hope you're having a good Saturday. Your weekend starts here. We've got a very packed and entertaining show for you. The Times newspaper, PM readies for battle by focusing on defence. Starmer to approve an extra £18 billion for the Ministry of Defence. Ministers want Burnham anointed as successor. Meanwhile, Dawn French, I survived grief and heartbreak. Am I the only one sick of celebrities talking about themselves? Dawn French, I survived grief and heartbreak. We've all had grief, dear. We've all had heartbreak. Life is difficult, but we're not all multi-millionaire TV actresses. Isn't that the woman that deeply offended Jewish people with her casual remarks about October the 7th when she said Hamas did a bad thing? I'm not a fan. She used to be good. She's one of those entertainers that's completely lost the plot. And now she's written this incredibly heart-rending article about herself and her terrible life. Cry me a river, dear. There are people out there struggling to make ends meet, wondering how they're going to pay for their kids' school uniforms or put food on the table, having to think about taking out a mortgage just to switch on the bloody radiator in the house because of Ed Miliband's net zero experiment that no doubt Dawn French loves. Cry me a river. The Daily Telegraph, National Pub Day. This has been a great campaign. Dean Spencer is so passionate about this. He's the executive producer of the show, and he's all about the National Pub Day and has had a tattoo of National Pub Day put on his body in a very intimate part of the body that for a family show, I won't give you the details. It's actually a very good campaign, isn't it? The Telegraph have been reporting on the shocking state of the pub industry in this country. We're losing upwards of 2 pubs a day. And the issue you've got is that if a pub closes down, 9 times out of 10, it ain't coming back. And it becomes a Tesco Express or a Sainsbury's local, or it becomes an estate agent, or it turns into a charity shop, or it becomes housing. Pubs are a massive part of our economy. They employ a lot of people, especially young people. They are part of the social fabric of this country. They're part of the history of the place. There are pubs that have been around for 300-400 years, and we're losing them by the day. Not by accident, by design, as a result of this government's egregious war on business. You see, in my view, this Labour government, they see a business, whether it's a shop, whether it's an oil company, whether it's a pub, it doesn't matter what the enterprise is. Anything commercial, anything capitalistic, they think is bad and they think is there for the taking. And in fact, I'd go completely the other way. I look at a pub group such as the Wetherspoons. Now, Dean and I, we love a Spoons, and there's a Spoons nearby to Old Talk Towers that we've had a great few drinks, didn't we, Dean, a few weeks ago with Mike Neville and some of the rest of the team. And that's a very special place. You know what's unique about the Wetherspoons chain? I consider it to be like a community resource. I think it's a social good. I think it's nearly the public sector Wetherspoons. And I say that because you can go in there and you get a pint for $1.99, which is 90s prices. And you can get a curry in a pint for about £6 or £7. And by the way, there are lots of other pub chains that are brilliant too. Green King, Shepherd's something or other. You know, there's lots and lots of really good pub chains in this country. But the government is hammering them. And when they're gone, they're gone. And if you think about a small town, if it loses its local, that's it. They're done for. Because at that point, you don't have a gathering place. You don't have a community hub. And the pub is not just about getting drunk and having, 12 pints of Stella on a Saturday night. It's much more than that. It is your full English breakfast on a Tuesday lunchtime or your ploughman's lunch. It's where the ladies meet for a bitter lemon at the Women's Institute. It's just part of the fabric of the country. And they are falling like flies as a result of this government's awful anti-business policies. I don't understand why the left don't get it, because there is the most powerful left-wing argument for business. Because if you create a really business-friendly environment where there is very little red tape, there's very little ridiculous tax and overhead, filling out forms, all that nonsense. If you stop telling companies how to do their job, if you stop telling them what the rules should be for the workers' rights, if you stop telling them how much they should be paying per hour and let them get on with it, then they're going to look after their staff and they will have income, and then they will be taxed on that income, and that pays for the doctors and the nurses and the police officers and defence and all the rest of it, street lighting, fix the potholes. There is such a powerful left-wing argument for a pro-business government because they employ the people so the state doesn't have to, and they generate the national income so that we can pay for public services. You get it, I get it, the left do not. Speaking of which, in the Telegraph, Starmer could step aside for Burnham, Rayner to give way too, but Streeting would run if Manchester Mayor wins by-election. Well, it's our understanding that the plan is very simple. If Andy Burnham wins Makerfield, there will be a leadership election, And it will be old Andy Wes Streeting that runs against him. But what's going to happen is that Burnham will win. Starmer doesn't run because he knows he cannot win in a face-off against Andy Burnham. There'll be an orderly transition and he becomes our next Prime Minister by the autumn. So Britain, and it's all about Makerfield. And Dean is so right. Producer Dean came in this morning. Is that we have to ask, is Burnham going to win this by-election? So if you're in the Northwest, can you tell me whether he's got a high likelihood of actually winning that seat? Because that's the million-dollar question. Because it's my view that if Big Andy Burnham doesn't win Makerfield, I think Starmer is home and hosed. Because I don't think there's a figure around whom the party can unite in the absence of Burnham. So Starmer will be out campaigning with Nigel Farage in Makerfield. Starmer is going to buy a turquoise tie. Oh, hello, my darling. What's his wife called? Victoria. Vicky. Hello, Vicky, love. Could you go on Amazon and get me a turquoise tie and get me an I Love Nigel badge, please? I'm going to campaign in Makerfield for Reform UK. That's what's going to happen. Do you realise that if Andy Burnham loses the Makerfield by-election, Keir Starmer is going to pour himself the largest scotch? Dean, have you ever had a scotch? Do you like a scotch? No. He doesn't like his spirits. He likes a cold beer, does Dean? And can I say he's a happy drunk? By the way, not drunk at all. The guy's body's a temple, in moderation always. But Starmer will be celebrating because I think that if Andy Burnham does not win that by-election, I think he's home and hosed. I really do. Because half of the parliamentary party don't like Big Ange. And of course, Wes Streeting is far too right-wing for most of those radical latte lefties on the back benches. Also in the Daily Telegraph, Reeves backs pubs campaign after staging £13 billion tax grab. What an insult that Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, the woman responsible for pub closures, backs the Telegraph's Save Our Pubs campaign. That's a little bit like Count Dracula getting behind a Save the Blood Banks campaign, isn't it? The Guardian newspaper, Burnham will push to be next PM by autumn, and Mandelson vetting files withheld by ministers. Well, I had David Maddox on the show yesterday, and my goodness, what a brilliant journalist he is. He's the guy that exposed the Mandelson scandal. He reported in The Independent in September of last year about the fact that Mandelson had failed security vetting. Brilliant journalist. And he has said there could be worse to come for Starmer on Peter Mandelson. Daily Star, first UK billionaire sportsman David Beckham. Dosh and Becks is the headline. David Beckham and Victoria Beckham are now worth £1.2 billion. And let me tell you, I've just mentioned a celebrity, haven't I, in old Dawn French. Crazy woke Dawn French. Hamas did a bad thing, Dawn French. And there's a big difference to me between the Beckhams and Dawn French. The Beckhams work incredibly hard, very talented people. She is a very successful fashion designer. She's a very beautiful woman. What a stunning singer as well. Victoria Beckham, by the way, best singer ever? Better than Mariah Carey? I think so. Victoria Beckham can carry a tune. I had an encounter with Victoria Beckham in my local petrol station. It's honestly true. I went in there, I filled up the moped because I'm a very dynamic person. I'm very lucky in that way. I've got a jet-set lifestyle. Yes, I do. And I'm cruising around on my little moped and I pull in because I need some petrol. And I go in to pay and there's a rather statuesque young woman standing at the till. And I did a double take. Have you ever had this with a celebrity where you look at them and you go, that's amazing, that person looks like Victoria Beckham. And then you realise, no, the reason they look like Victoria Beckham is because it is Victoria Beckham. And I will tell you, she had a very slender frame, she looked very nice. She gave me what I would describe as a half smile, which I will take to my grave. And the other thing I noticed is that she was standing there and she had a bunch of grapes. It sounds like a made-up story, but it's genuinely true. She had a bunch of grapes and she popped a grape in her mouth and smiled. And I will say that as that grape passed through her body, it was like a snake swallowing a goat. Right, massive big bump in her belly. First time she'd ever seen food. Anyway, she's a nice lady. And so she's done very well in her music career. Sold 50 million records with the Spice Girls. Do you want to be my lover? And then, of course, she's done it as a fashion designer. They're accomplished people. David, top footballer, and now global ambassador, entrepreneur, very successful guy, doing a great job. They do a lot for charity as well. I'm an unapologetic fan of the Beckhams, and you compare that to Dawn French moaning about her life in The Times, multimillionaire actress, who said that the Hamas October the 7th attacks on Jewish people, worst attack since the Holocaust, was Hamas did a bad thing. These people are beyond contempt. The Sun newspaper, exclusive TV shock. I became coke addict doing Deal or No Deal. Never heard of him. Daily Mail now. Exclusive. The night I was drugged. Oh my goodness, this is an awful story. I can't even go there. This is Carrie Johnson, who is Boris Johnson's lovely wife. Very nice person. And she talks about John Warboys. This is the cabbie that drove around, and he'd pick up a young girl, a young woman, and he would say his lie was that he'd won the lottery or he was celebrating something, and would they like a glass of champagne? And he would hand them a glass of champagne. It contained a drug which made them drowsy, and then he attacked them. I mean, it's the most horrific story. As far as I'm concerned, with that person, lock him up, throw away the key. Throw away the key. I do not wish for that person ever to see freedom. Ever, ever again. Die in jail. Easy. Truly evil. Anyway, there's a ITV drama about this monster, and we're going to be doing an item on it at 7:20. Dean spotted that story. It's a very important one. And Carrie Johnson, it's my understanding she was not a victim of this monster by way of an attack, but it is my understanding that he tried to drug her, which is so bad. It's so difficult, isn't it? I'm not afraid of any topics on this show, but just talking about it makes me deeply, deeply uneasy. Starmer faces his Waterloo. No one would mistake Burnham for the Duke of Wellington, but he'll begin fight to win common seat and topple the PM on the anniversary of the famous Battle of Waterloo. June the 18th is the date of the Makerfield by-election. Can Burnham win? Is he the answer for Britain? 6:19. This is Talk Breakfast.
The Crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It is 6:22 and we've got so much to get through today. Are you going on the Unite the Kingdom march? And if so, I'd love you to tell me why. You're going to get balanced reporting, because the establishment media will have you believe that 500,000 people or 1 million people descending on London are all far-right extremists. I doubt that is the case. So if you're going, give me a call and tell me why. If you support the march, give me a call and tell me why. And if you disagree with it and think it shouldn't be happening or don't agree with those going on it, I also want to hear from you. Let's have a balanced debate on it. Daily Mail, Starmer faces his Waterloo. June the 18th is the date of the Makerfield by-election. It's my view that if Burnham wins that, then Starmer is out. For reaction to the big stories of the day, I'm delighted to welcome broadcaster, writer, podcaster and talk star Duncan Barks. Good morning, Duncan.
Morning.
Fantastic to see you. So we have our date. It's my view that if Andy Burnham wins this by-election, he is our next Prime Minister. What say you?
I think you're right. It will be effectively a coronation because, listen, this by-election that'll happen inside the next couple of months in Makerfield is in a part of Greater Manchester that was very Brexity. It's working class, it's predominantly white, very different from Gorton and Denton, which was the last by-election in Greater Manchester that we know that the Greens won. So when you talk about Makerfield, that is the demographic and the makeup. So if Burnham can win there, that is going to be seen as a massive step forward for Labour. And I think the majority of Labour MPs will just make him Prime Minister, right?
Yeah.
Because he's managed to beat Reform, who will chuck the kitchen sink at winning that particular by-election. And I think, people like Wes Streeting and Angela Rayner will just go, do you know what, let's just let Andy Burnham have it. But do you know what, can I make the point that I think this is utterly contemptuous? The whole thing is contemptuous. The sense of self-entitlement from Andy Burnham beggars belief, in my view. This idea that, oh, well, you've got this guy called Josh Simons, who is the current MP, well, for Makerfield. I need to find a seat somewhere where someone will step down and stand aside so I can run in the by-election because I want to get into Downing Street. I think is really contemptuous to local people.
It most definitely is. Vote for me, so not that I'm going to represent you, but that I can have the big job.
Yeah, and the sense of self-entitlement is vast. Remember, in the case of Andy Burnham, he's had a couple of tilts at becoming leader in the past.
Yeah.
He had a go and got beaten by Ed Miliband, and then Miliband became Labour leader. He had a go and then got beaten by Jeremy Corbyn. It's that famous joke that's doing the rounds. Have you heard the joke?
No.
The joke. Let me get this right, because it's very early in the morning. So, a Blairite, a Brownite, and a Corbynista all walk into a bar. Barman says, "Hello, Andy."
That's brilliant. And that's going to be laid at his door that he flip-flops politically.
Yeah, and there's a story in today's paper. So this is a guy who said that we should rejoin the European Union. And then there's a story knocking around that he's told Labour MPs in Greater Manchester he's not going to go big on his views on the EU because he knows in this particular constituency that voted for Brexit, it won't go down so well. So already you're seeing a guy who is not remotely principled. Stand up for what you believe in. But this guy is kind of like slowly changing some of his views to make sure he stands the better chance of winning this by-election. Now, you could argue that is politics, but it doesn't do politics any favours.
Most definitely. What is your view about his likelihood of winning this by-election?
I don't think it's a given. I think if this was 2 or 3 years ago, he would win it, right? But I think our political landscape has changed massively inside the last 18 months and the last 2 years. And it's not a given that he will just walk in there and get elected as the Labour MP for that constituency. It's going to be a tough fight. The biggest fight will come from Reform UK. And rightly so. And it'll be really interesting to see what happens. I also think, all of these poor people in Makerfield over the last 24 hours, 48 hours, who've had to put up with loads of journalists rocking up in the high street and asking them, would you vote for Andy Burnham? Do you know who he is? And all this kind of jazz that's been going on. I think there's going to be a chunk of that constituency, that electorate, who will see this for what it is, which is the point I made earlier, which is he just sees this as his stepping stone to Downing Street, and they may well punish him.
Most definitely. It's going to be a big challenge, isn't it? I think turnout will be decisive.
Yeah.
Turnout will be critical.
Yeah.
because if lots of people go to vote, that could swing it for Reform UK. It's curious, isn't it? Because during the May local elections, their mantra, their slogan was vote reform, get Starmer out.
Yeah.
Now, in Makerfield, it's vote reform, keep Starmer in.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if Nigel wins in that seat,
Yeah.
whichever candidate he chooses, Burnham's gone, and I think it's all to play for the Prime Minister at that point.
Yeah, and there's some speculation knocking around this morning about who may or may not have been asked to be Reform's candidate in that particular constituency. I think strategically, as someone who's knocked around politics for a while, both in Parliament and outside of Parliament, they need someone who's not a celebrity. Because I think Reform do have a tendency sometimes to go, well, we'll have a bit of a name here. And I don't think that's the right way forward. What you need is you need a solid politician. Because if you were to find some local celebrity, to stand as the Reform candidate, Burnham will attack that. It'll be like, oh, this is, this guy doesn't, or this woman doesn't have any gravitas. You need someone who's a solid politician who can play Burnham at his own game.
And also, do you think that Burnham has had too much of a free pass from the press hitherto? Because this is a guy that, as you've mentioned, wants to reverse Brexit.
Yeah.
He would certainly have a case to answer for his handling of the grooming gang scandal in the Northwest. Some people very unhappy about how he approached that issue. His flip-flopping on policy, the fact that he was a Blairite, suddenly he's Jeremy Corbyn, make it make sense.
Yeah.
Very, very woke ideas, particularly on trans stuff, and an ultra-left-wing economic agenda.
Yeah.
This guy, he's been sort of, in many ways, deified in the press and within the Labour movement, but he could be a very dangerous Prime Minister.
I think the media is culpable in the rise of Andy Burnham, in so much as they've taken this King of the North strapline, this kind of self-created brand, and they've run with it. Listen, I mean, I spent time in Manchester. I like Manchester as a city. I love the trams. The trams are great. People would say Andy Burnham's done a great thing with the buses. Well, that's marvellous. But, the King of the North stuff, and I do wonder whether or not he's fallen a little bit for his own PR. His self-generated PR. I'm the King of the North, I can do this. Well, this is going to be the biggest fight of his political career. And this is a proper fight as well. Every political party, particularly Reform, but also you're going to see other parties have a pop at this. And it'll be really interesting to see if he can actually deliver.
Most definitely. Well, listen, delivering this morning is the excellent Duncan Barks, broadcaster, podcaster and talk star. Coming up next, we're going to talk about Unite the Kingdom. Are you going? If so, I'd love you to tell me why. We're going to be speaking to an international broadcaster and journalist that's been banned from going to this event today. He's actually had his visa torn up. He's suing the Prime Minister. That's next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your...
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. I've got to tell you that my glasses have just broken. Imagine that, but I've still got profound vision. We'll have to get some tape or something now. What an embarrassing moment. But that's the magic, of course, of watching the show on YouTube, is that you can see the moments like that with Dolan spectacles breaking. I've not got a spare at the moment. Duncan Barks is with me in the studio. Ezra Levant is an international broadcaster, and he's been banned from coming into the UK and participating in the Unite the Kingdom march. Here's what the Prime Minister has had to say on the issue. Well, there you go. You are listening to Talk Breakfast, and this is a massive, exploding global story. And it is Ezra Levant, who is a journalist and the publisher of Rebel News. He said he's suing Keir Starmer a few days ago. Starmer illegally put me on a blacklist, he writes. He's banned me from entering the UK. He's done it just days before the massive rally in London this weekend. Ezra Levant joins me now. Good morning, Ezra.
Hi there, and I'm sorry that I'm not with you in London. I'm in Canada. It's 1:30 a.m. I love the United Kingdom. I've been traveling there probably 24 times in the last 10 years to do journalism and to follow the interesting character of Tommy Robinson, who's become a friend. I've never committed a crime in my life, never been charged with a crime in my life, never engaged in hateful acts. I'm not far right. I know in the UK that is sort of code for being anti-Semitic or pro-Nazi. I'm Jewish myself, actually. This is not a legitimate ban. This is Keir Starmer trying to lash out at his critics. But more than that, I think he's trying to distract from, I think it's a 16% approval in the polls. I think he actually wants there to be an incident tomorrow. He's certainly talking a lot about it. It's as if he thinks he can have some sort of January 6th crisis that can turn him into a hero again to distract from his disastrous elections last week. Keir Starmer, I think, will go down in history as one of the worst prime ministers in the UK's ever have, and his violation of civil liberties will be part of that.
Tell me about Rebel News, the fearless news outlet that you created.
I mean, Rebel News, our motto is telling the other side of the story. And one of our themes is free speech and mass immigration. I mean, we are skeptics of censorship. We're skeptics of mass immigration. And people can agree with us or disagree with us. One of the things we do is we crowdfund. Tommy Robinson didn't have the means to hire excellent lawyers for much of his life. And listen, if ISIS brides can get free lawyers, surely Tommy Robinson can get a lawyer. So one of the things we did over the years was crowdfund his legal defense. We're not just reporters. We're civil rights activists. We're crowdfunders. We're alternative media, and that's what it's like in 2026. We're an antidote to the BBC, the state broadcaster. None of those are reasons for Keir Starmer to ban us. Now, I respect the UK's ability to keep anyone out, but the UK's own law says you can't use political beliefs as a grounds to discriminate. It's just the laws of the United Kingdom. And that's the only thing Keir Starmer has done. The only beef he has with me, and as far as I can tell, any of the other people he's kicked out, is none of them have committed crimes. None of them are rampaging rioters. They just simply disagree with them. And he's acting like the bully he claims to oppose.
And can you tell me the manner in which you discovered you'd been blacklisted, because you were fully intending to be in the UK this weekend?
Yeah, I just simply got an email out of the blue telling me that it's called an ETA, electronic travel authorization. It's like a quick downloadable visa that you get for travel between Canada and the UK. I've had one travel without incident many times. Just suddenly out of the blue, it says it's been rescinded because I'm not in the public, I forget the exact wording, something about it's not in the public interest for me to come over there. But here's the thing, in the email that told me that, I got that on 7 days ago, exactly Friday morning, or 8 days ago. It said I could apply for a regular visa the regular way. Trouble is, that takes weeks. But I don't know if you know this, Mark. If you pay £100, you can get your visa reviewed in 5 days. And if you pay £1,000. It's crazy. I've never heard of such a thing.
Daylight robbery.
If you pay £1,000, you can get your visa processed in one day. And I know it sounds crazy, but I paid it. So last Friday, May the 8th, I got this email saying I'm banned from the UK using my ETA sort of mini visa, but I could apply, and I answered 100 questions about my income, my kids, my family, my parents, where I live, every country I've visited in the last 10 years. I had to answer so many. I had to go in and get fingerprinted. I did all of that immediately, and I paid the £1,000. And I thought, that's sort of nuts, but I've already bought my plane ticket, etc. Okay, so one day went by, and then 2 days, and then three, and then four, and then five, and six. Today is day 8. I want my £1,000 back.
Well, you're
It's not about the
significantly
money.
out of pocket. Must be very emotionally bruising to go through this process. Very, very stressful as well. Very humiliating. What does it say about the United Kingdom in 2026 that you've been banned from coming into the country?
Well, I mean, you're right. It was embarrassing at first because it sounds terrible that you're banned from the country. Like that's
Yeah,
what you do with
like a
terrorists.
common criminal.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, it's sort of opposite day. I mean, anyone in a dinghy can come. Like I could have flown to Paris, driven to the coast, got in a dinghy, and not only would I be with you in London right now, I'd have a free apartment,
Well,
a free cell phone,
yeah.
and so the
You made a
irony.
mistake. I mean, I wish you'd called me. I would have said, yeah, come in a dinghy, invade the country illegally, and you'll be in a home of multiple occupancy. You might actually get into the Dorchester, which does an excellent breakfast. Alternatively, you could have perhaps been a leading figure from the Iranian regime, because Keir Starmer loves them. Don't forget, he thwarted Donald Trump's efforts to disarm Iran. The other thing you could have done is come in as a pro-Hamas supporter and just said you were coming for one of the peace marches. Then you'd be fine. You'd be home and hosed.
I attended a number of those big pro-Hamas marches in London, including one that had probably 100,000 people. It was a little bit terrifying. I was very modest and kept my mouth shut. And the thing is, the police were in attendance, but they were blocks away from the streets where the marchers were. The police didn't want to have a high-profile presence lest they antagonize the crowd. So that's how the Met Police governed a march of 100,000 people, many of them foreign nationals, calling for the extermination of Jews. And they really did use that kind of language. So I saw the very light touch that the police had for these pro-Hamas marches. You could even say the police were really more like concierges or ushers compared to how they've said they're going to police Tommy Robinson's rally today, including to use facial recognition cameras just to scan everyone's face to build a database of enemies. And that is not a good look for the United Kingdom. I truly love the UK for a number of reasons. I love the people, I love the history, the architecture. It's the root of our own Canadian culture. But one of the reasons I love it best is it's where liberty was, created, really.
Well, that's
Whether
right.
it's
We used to be a standard bearer for those values. We seem to have relinquished them. Stay with us, Ezra, if you can. Duncan Barks
Sure.
is in the studio. Duncan.
I find it fascinating, and Ezra, I'd be really interested in your view. This country, Great Britain, is the home of democracy. We have the mother of parliaments. That's the phrase that's used around the world. And given your ban and the fact that you're not in the country today, this weekend, where do you think that leaves Britain in terms of freedom of speech?
It's very sad to me. Let me tell you a personal story. About a dozen years ago, I published the Danish cartoons of Mohammed. I republished them in a magazine in Canada, and I was put through a whole human rights process. Anyways, in 2012, I was awarded the Queen's Jubilee Medal for defending freedom of expression. It was one of the most meaningful things that's ever happened to me in my life. And I'm not wearing it now. I don't really wear it, but it's a medal for defending free speech, and it was the Queen Elizabeth Medal, and I think about that a lot, and it inspires me, and I love the late Queen very much. And now the Prime Minister of the country from which that medal was inspired is cracking down on free speech. He's cracking down on juries. He wants to end the jury system and all the things. I mean, he's trying to deracinate the UK. He's trying to pull it up by the roots. He's trying to raise it down, and that makes me incredibly sad. Listen. I just look. I love to look up to the UK. I love to. I've been to Stratford to learn more about Shakespeare. I've been to the British Museum. I've had a wonderful tour of the history of Parliament. It's like a pilgrimage for me when I go to the UK. I'm an Anglophile, you can tell, but for it to go wobbly, that is so demoralizing. And listen, it's an inconvenience to me, and I'm sad because I love to visit there, but I'm actually not the target. You are.
Yeah.
You're the target. It's about pour encourager les autres. It's about terrifying everybody. It's about if they can do this to Ezra Levant and other foreign journalists and even politicians like Dominic Tarczynski, like a couple of members of the European Parliament were banned. If they can do that to them, imagine what they can do to you. And that's the same thing with this police approach. Where was the guy? I'm sure you saw the Crown Prosecution Service put out a memo about how harshly it's going to scrutinize Tommy's rally and the speeches. Where was that for this pro-Hamas rally? I'm worried about the UK. And one of the reasons I love to visit, I call it my dystopian time machine. I go to the UK and I see what life is going to be like over here in 5 years if we don't change course. And I'm rooting for you guys, by the way. I love the UK. I think you've got some big problems.
Given what you've just said, what would your message be to Prime Minister Starmer this weekend?
Listen, I don't want to take too strong an opinion about what should happen. That's a decision for Brits to make. But it's pretty clear he's trying to, like, his language and his obsession with what's going on. I think he wants there to be an incident. I know that sounds conspiratorial, but it really feels like he wants to use that same January 6th script.
I agree. And also, most of establishment media would like there to be trouble as well, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and I know the lengths that Tommy Robinson goes to get his people to be calm. No masks, no drinking. You can bring signs, but they can't be, like Tommy really spends Tommy Robinson, a lot of effort getting his people to be on their best behavior because he knows it'll be scrutinized. And like the last time he had a rally, I think it was in September, estimates range from over 100,000 to more than 1 million. And let's split the difference and say there was a few 100,000 people there. Remarkably few arrests given that size of population compared to the Notting Hill gathering or really anything. But, the media want to ham up Tommy as a rogue rapscallion. And listen, the man's got his flaws, but what I like about Tommy Robinson is he's trying to keep people in the political system. He says it's as if he's saying, don't check out of the system. We can do this. We can play by the rules and make a difference within the system. If Tommy were successfully pushed out of the system, if he were jailed, as he's been so many times, there would be a lot of people in the UK who would say, I no longer believe in this democratic system. I no longer believe that the rules are fair. I think he's actually a bulwark against radicalization, if you understand me, because he's keeping people in the processes of the UK. He's saying, no, I believe in rallies. I believe in democracy. I believe in social movements that are peaceful. I actually think he's a positive force, but his critics would never say that in a million years.
And Ezra, why do you think this event today, Unite the Kingdom, is so important? Why were you so keen to attend? Why do you think upwards of 500,000 or maybe 1 million people will be there today?
Well, I mean, I really think that for a long time there's been a disconnect between the ruling class and the people, not just in the UK, but in America. I mean, that's what Donald Trump's election was partly about. I think that's what Brexit was about. I think you see that in other countries too. And some of the issues are the same. Mass immigration was something that no one voted for, no one was asked about. And there's a lot of social consequences to that, including, I hate to say it, the rape of British girls on an industrial scale.
Yeah.
And that's very difficult to talk about. Tommy Robinson was talking about these things when it just simply wasn't done in polite company. There's a class issue. I don't quite understand your class system in the UK. We don't have it as pronounced here in Canada. But even the so-called Labour Party, it's not really a party of working men. It's a party for university professors and activists like Greta Thunberg. I mean, in a way, Tommy has become a voice for a part of the UK that's been forgotten. I think Nigel Farage is coming in and reaching some of them, but Tommy blazed the trail. I think it's a healthy thing. And by the way, I would much rather be at a rally with 500,000 indigenous British people than 100,000 pro-Hamas people, including many foreign nationals who hate the UK. Look at the flags. I know today there will be many Union Jacks. There'll be some American flags, some Israeli flags. There always are. The flags of the different of Wales instead of Scotland. Compare the flags you see today with the flags you'll see at the counter protest, which will be Palestinian flags, transgender flags. You might even see some Hezbollah and Hamas flags.
Yeah.
That I always look for the flags because that shows you a lot about the hearts of people. And I would much rather be with the Unite the Kingdom protesters than with the Hamas protesters.
Very briefly, a lot of people feel that Tommy Robinson carries baggage with him. Could it be a case that Unite the Kingdom is the right cause with the wrong figurehead?
Everyone's flawed. He's a sinner like the rest of us, but he's got a charisma, I think. He's very intelligent. He's been on this issue for longer than almost anyone. He's very well read on the subject. He's a good debater. He has a charisma that people follow. And he suffered for it. I mean, he went to prison because he refused to take down a documentary film that he thought the country had to see. I was there in court, and I watched the judge say to him, Mr. Yaxley Lennon, if you take that video down now, I will take months off your sentence. He was being sentenced for contempt of court because another judge said, don't put that documentary up. He went to prison. He was put in solitary confinement for months. That's a form of torture. And I think about that. Why would someone voluntarily choose to be so stubborn about a message that he would subject himself to months in solitary? Who would do that? Well, someone who believes so deeply and who leads by example. I found that to be inspiring, and I'm not even British. So I can see the inspiration. He's suffering. He is choosing to, you know how many death threats he's had? You know, in the UK, there's something called an Osmond warning. When police have actionable intelligence that someone's going to try and kill you, they have a legal obligation to personally visit your home, give you a letter explaining the risk. He's had 13 Osmond warnings. 13 times Muslim extremists have tried to kill him, and yet he persists. You know, the man's got flaws, and I could take half an hour to list them all. But by God, he's got his strengths too, and I think he's the man for the moment.
Well, we're deeply honoured to have had you on the show, Ezra, and thank you for telling us your story. And it's a source of deep regret that you're not able to be here in the United Kingdom to join us in the studio and to participate in this perfectly legal public demonstration, the Unite the Kingdom March. Ezra, we will speak soon. More power to you, and I hope you're successful in suing the British government for what is an egregious assault on free speech. Ezra, thank you. Ezra Levant is the journalist and publisher of the fearless news website Rebel News. I want to know if you're going on this Unite the Kingdom march. Please give me a bell. You might be on your way now, and I want to know why and what your big concerns are for the future of this country. It is 6:51. You're listening to Talk Breakfast.
crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in Crisis. Subscribe to The Royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It's Mark Dolan with you at exactly 5 to 7 this morning. Are you going on the Unite the Kingdom march? If so, I'd love to know why. Give me a bell, 0344 499 1000. In fact, when you get a second, Dean, let's put Dan on air. With me in the studio, Duncan Barks is a broadcaster and star here of Talk. Duncan, why is this event today so important? Why is it so significant?
Well, people want to be seen, don't they? And they want to be heard, and that's right. And I think, you know, the condemnation that we've seen from the Prime Minister in the last 24 hours is a distraction. He's using this as a distraction for his currently his political woes and his failings at the moment. It's insulting, but it's very easy for him to go, anyone who's attending is far right. You know, I mean, it just shuts down any form of debate. People have concerns in this country. That's why they get involved with us here at Talk. They come on air. They send us voice notes, they tell us how they're feeling about stuff, and this is a way of saying, look, we're not happy with how this country's being run. We're not happy with the fact that if you dare to fly a flag, you're somehow condemned as a racist or far right. We're not happy about the levels of illegal migration. Just a bit of context here, just to pick up on something. Last year, the Unite the Kingdom rally saw 23 arrests, okay? So, I mean, 23 arrests, 23 too many. Let's make the point, if you're going today, don't get violent, don't have a pop at the police, behave yourselves, don't get drunk, because you're playing into the hands of the people who want to condemn you. But let's have some context here. Last year, Notting Hill Carnival, 443 arrests.
Which is a wonderful peace-loving event. And don't forget, in Notting Hill, they have to protect houses and other properties, boarding up shops.
The whole thing.
And by the way, when you mention that figure of 23, you're absolutely right. It's worth noting that at least half of those people were far-left agitators who'd gone to the Unite the Kingdom march to cause trouble. So, you know, in the end, I mean, those numbers are almost non-existent.
And just a little bit more context, we've had over 500 arrests for people who have been misbehaving and broken the laws, part of the Palestinian marches over the last several months. So let's have some context about this, yeah?
Most definitely. It's a brilliant point. Dan in Portsmouth is going to the Unite the Kingdom march, and he joins me now. Hello, Dan. Morning. How are you, sir?
Yeah, morning, Mark. It's early doors for me, but up and that, I'm ready to go. I was at that march last time, and out of the 23, 17 of them were from the opposing the Antifa march, or the Palestinian march, or whatever you want to call it, and that was because the police pushed our people down off the route of the march, all right, and they pushed them into the hands of those people, all right. So and they were attacked and goaded and jostled, and that's when those arrests happened. And as has already been illustrated, 17 of them were actually from the far left. So you know,
it was a non-story. It was basically a completely peaceful event overall, wasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, it was a fabulous event. I've been to all of these marches, and they're like carnivals. And the reason people go, people haven't spoken about it, the reason people go is everyone who I've taken or been exposed to has been to their first one. They all say the same thing. I'm so relieved to see it's not just me. That we've been isolated so much by the media and by the politicians and told that we're these terrible people. When you go to those marches, you're surrounded by nice people, Middle England, normal people like you and I, and you think, thank goodness. I always knew it wasn't just me, but some people, they're a little bit more sheltered, and they go to those marches. My old mum went to the first one last time. She's in her 70s, and she said, I knew it wasn't just me. She said it's lovely to see like-minded, decent, upstanding people who have just had enough. We're quietly spoken Brits. We take it on the chin. We're not like French. They've had enough, and it's going to get worse, and it'll get bigger, and it'll get bigger, and it'll get more momentum. People have just had enough.
What do you make of the Prime Minister's comments about this event causing division?
What I'd say is this, right? That at worst, what Lucy Connolly did, at worst, all right, and it never warranted going to jail, was she said things that were unwise and that could be misconstrued by the wrong person, othering another section of society and aiming them and putting them up as fair game, right? That's at worst what she did. That's what the Prime Minister's just done, and she was a nobody. He's the Prime Minister. He's othered us today. He's put us in it. He's put the crosshairs on us and said, these people are fair game. Go out and have a pop at them. They're fair game. And I tell you now, if some maniac does that today and somebody gets hurt or worse on today's march, he's got blood on his hands.
Well, you're quite right. Dan, enjoy the event today. Stay safe and maybe give me a bell tomorrow. Let me know how it all went. So much more to come. Are you going to the Unite the Kingdom march? You're going to get balanced, fair and honest coverage on Talk Breakfast and only on Talk Breakfast. Are you going? 0344 499 1000. So much to get.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
7:03, top of the morning, Talk Breakfast. Mark Dolan in the hot seat. A very big show for you today. And breaking this morning, Starmer knows it's over. If Andy Burnham wins the Makerfield by-election, which is a big if, it's our understanding that the Prime Minister will throw in the towel. Now, under those circumstances, an orderly transition following a rubber-stamping leadership election will see Britain under new management by the autumn. But with his ambitions to take Britain back into the European single market, with serious questions about his handling of the grooming gang scandal in the Northwest, with his flip-flopping on policy, with some ultra-woke ideas and with an ultra-left-wing economic agenda, is Andy Burnham really the answer for Britain? Meanwhile, London hosts the Unite the Kingdom protest today. Upwards of 100,000, maybe 500,000 could be in attendance. And I've got a simple question to you today. Are you going? 0344 499 1000. If you're going to take part in the Unite the Kingdom protest, tell me why. Tell me what your concerns are and let's have that conversation. We will bring you unparalleled and completely balanced and honest coverage of this developing story, the Unite the Kingdom March. Why is it happening? And what do you make of the Prime Minister's reaction as he says it's all about division? My phone number is 0344 499 1000. You can text the word talk and your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note and, as the saying goes, let's talk. Now, my glasses have just broken on air, but I've got 20/20 vision. I believe that Tommy's trying to fix my specs as we speak. But it's going to be a very clear-sighted show today. You can hear us on the radio. You can also watch us on the telly. Just head to YouTube, search Talk, hit the live button, and up we pop. You'll see my amazing guests. You'll see our coverage of the Unite the Kingdom protest, and you will see today's Dolan's Dispatch. So much to get through. Let's talk. And let's do so in the company of a very good friend of mine, broadcaster and talk star Duncan Barks. Good morning, Duncan.
Morning.
And with us down the line, I'm also delighted to welcome former Met Police Detective Peter Blexley. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning.
So, Peter, what was your appraisal, your overview of the Unite the Kingdom event last year? What did you think as it played out?
From everything that I saw and I heard and the people that I spoke to that went there, it was an overwhelmingly joyous, unifying gathering of patriotic, decent, law-abiding, hard-working, tax-paying, alarm clock Britons who enjoyed being surrounded by like-minded people.
So you don't accept the Prime Minister's characterisation of this event as divisive, dangerous and potentially racist?
The man's a fool. He's been provocative this week in terms of the people that he's prevented from coming into the UK, and his pathetic speech yesterday was just adding more fuel to the fire. But it's my sincere hope, wish, desire that people today do not rise to the bait. Do not give Starmer what he wants, which is disorder, disruption and violence.
Well, I think that's absolutely of critical importance, isn't it? And of course, the big issue facing the police today will be left-wing agitators looking for trouble, trying to stir the pot, Peter.
Be under no doubt whatsoever, in my opinion, today is the biggest test for the Metropolitan Police in its nearly 200-year history. Will the Metropolitan Police today police fairly, even-handedly? Will they police without fear or favour? Will they treat both protests as though they were the same until, of course, if any crime is committed? We'll have to wait and see. If they don't, and we see two-tier policing, we see inconsistent policing, we see one treatment for a certain group of people and another treatment for another, then I think the organisation and the Commissioner, Sir Mark Dolan, will both be in very, very deep water.
Most definitely. And what we're going to see today, Duncan Barks, is a public expression about concerns regarding the country and a rapidly changing society that many people feel they did not vote for.
Exactly that. You know, people get condemned for saying they have concerns about high levels of illegal immigration to this country. We have the Prime Minister who will say that these people are far right or divisive, and it's so insulting to law-abiding, tax-paying Brits who just want to say, look, I'm not happy about this. I didn't vote for this. And they're right to do so. Peter, I'm interested in the kind of policing that takes place for something like this today, because not only do we have the Unite the Kingdom march taking place, we also have yet another pro-Palestine march that's going on. I mean, from an operational perspective, how do the police actually manage to effectively police two different kinds of marches?
Well, it's a numbers game today, and we've seen there will be 4,000 police on the streets of London. Excuse me, 660 of those officers have been drafted in from throughout the UK, and it really is a numbers game. Do they have enough police officers on the streets to cater for every eventuality? I suspect what we'll see is, if there is genocidal chanting for the obliteration, the extermination of an entire group of people just because they follow a particular faith, I don't suppose we will see proactive, rapid arrests, which will be very disappointing, and it merely empowers people who like to chant genocidal things on the streets of London. Perhaps we'll see that contrasted to how they deal with the Unite the Kingdom, the Unite the West people who gather, if there is, and let's hope there certainly isn't, any disorder on that front.
Absolutely. Jason is in Walsall, and Jason, I understand you're on your way into central London.
Yeah, well, I'm still a long way from there at the moment. Still like north of Manchester.
Fair enough. Now, Jason, I'm so glad that you've called the show. What makes you want to be part of this today, Jason?
Storm's speech yesterday. What he said on the, what I've heard. And I went last year, and there's no racism, there's no extremism there. It was just a really enjoyable day. And I can't understand why you're still picking out people that are far-right extremists. I
mean, what's happening? Starmer's playing politics with this, isn't he, Jason?
Yeah, definitely. He's trying to make himself feel, sound good, blaming the working class people of the country for all the troubles that's going on.
So he's his own. Sounds to me, Jason, like he's his own worst enemy, because he's made this rather offensive statement, and what it's made you do is defy him and go.
Well, we've all got to go. I mean, I've been to work. I've been working all night. I drove up to Glasgow from the Midlands. And
wow.
I'm back home.
You've been working all night?
And I'm dog tired at the moment as well, but my brother-in-law, my wife and my sister, like, he's driving down. As soon as I get back to Walsall, I should jump in the car. I shall have a keep in the car on the way to London, like, so, I wasn't going to go at all.
So that's it. So you've pulled an all-nighter to get yourself to London because you're so angry at the Prime Minister's remarks, calling you and many thousands of people far-right or racist.
Yeah, I'm angry, but I ain't going to go there with an angry attitude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going there with a joyful, to mix it with people of the same opinion of what's going on in this country, which isn't right. It is not right.
No, and Jason, what are the big issues for you? What are you unhappy about that has happened in the country?
To me, personally, it's allowing all this march and the opposition to just be going on with the pro-Palestine stuff, and the hatred that has been spewed towards the Jewish people, and it's proven, like, with all the attacks that's happened in the last couple of years. I mean, even two people lost their lives last year in Manchester. Yeah. And it's all down to the hatred that's spewed from that. And when we have a voice about how we feel about, being out, I mean, I'm a working man. My money's gone down over the last 2 years. I've lost hours on my job as well. We're struggling to get by with the fuel costs and everything else. Yeah. But we still go out and work. But when we moan about it, have a voice about it, we sort of tell to shut up. You know what I mean? No more. There's no more.
I'm glad to hear it. I mean, my heart goes out to you, Jason. Your hours have dropped. You've lost hours, and yet your costs have gone up with inflation and fuel and all the rest of it. But you do not feel heard, or you feel the opposite. You've been told to shut up.
That's how it feels. That's just how it feels. When people speak out, so you're talking, you know. No, you come and live in the real world, and then you'll see. You know, come and. You know, these people who run the country, come and live and work. What I do, I'm a van driver. Come and do a van driver's job for a month and earn more wages and see how you get by. You know what I mean? But no, it's all make believe in our heads.
And Jason, how much? Well, it's disgusting, and I'm so glad that you've called this show. And this show and this network Talk exists to give you a voice and to convey to the establishment and the elite that millions of people in this country are struggling to make ends meet, and they're not happy about the direction of travel of the country. How much, Jason, is immigration a factor today, do you think?
I live in a multicultural area, massively multicultural area, and I don't see so much of a problem. I don't like this grooming gang thing, which is being covered up.
Yeah.
And I don't like the fact that people are coming in unvetted. I ain't got a problem with people coming in as long as they want to assimilate and work, you know. But the people who are coming in unvetted, we don't know who they are. And look at the attack. There was a girl that was killed, Rihanna White, in Walsall, just round the corner from where I live. That says it all. It's from a person that was unvetted. You know, that's what's coming into the country. That's the threat.
Jason, every word you've said is right, and may God bless you on your trip down, and good luck with the traffic. It's extra cost to you as well. You've had no sleep. You can have a kip in your vehicle.
I'll be fine.
What I want you to do, have a beer if you're not driving later, have a burger, enjoy the occasion, and maybe, Jason, we could have another chat tomorrow and you can let me know how it went.
Oh, well, I'll probably phone him up. I won't be about in the morning. I'll be out for the count tomorrow morning.
See, there's no end to it, is there? Well, listen, Jason, what I want you to do, stay in touch with me, and I hope it goes really well today, and all the best to you and the folk that you're going down with. And we hear you loud and clear with your concerns about everything, the economy, the cost of living. And there you go, Duncan Barks. Jason, who's lost hours in his job, he works hard, and he said, you try doing his job for a month. Good luck with that. Make ends meet. And by the way, Jason is not looking for pity or anything like that, but he's just saying that this is what the real world looks like.
Yeah, people want to be heard, right? And that's what today is all about. And there's a really interesting line that Jason said when we talked about, you mentioned about immigration. He says, well, you know, I live in a multicultural place. He doesn't have a massive problem with the people in his community. Where he does have a problem, where I think we all have a problem, is when people come to this country and fail to integrate, or come to this country and break the law. And that's not just the reason why you're seeing people march today. There's all kinds of reasons. But fundamentally, there's a big chunk of society who feel they're not being listened to by today's government or the majority of politicians. They want to be seen. They want to be heard.
Most definitely. Peter, what did you make of Jason's call just now?
What an absolutely brilliant contributor he was. Everything you could want from a hard-working British person, somebody who lives in an area where there are people of other colours and other faiths, and he gets on perfectly well with them. Somebody who works all night, very, very hard, and yet is so responsible. Today, he's sharing the driving with his brother-in-law, so he's not a danger to others. He's a responsible man. He's exactly the kind of person that I want to hear on your channel, and I would like to be standing alongside in a bar, having a pint and a chat with.
Most definitely. Well, are you going to the Unite the Kingdom event? Let me know. 0344 499 1000. George, I think we might have a voice note, do we? Let's play that one out.
Morning, Talk. Morning, Mark Dolan. Great show as always. Reasons why I'm going today is because I don't want to see this country be Muslim ruled, a Christian country, and I want my children to have a future. And the way Starmer has pulled this into a black hole, this country, enough is enough. I'm going to go there, be respectful, and yeah, just show face and fly a flag.
Thank you for that excellent voice note. Duncan, you get the last word on this.
I just think what we're going to see today are people who want to have their voices heard, they want to be seen, and this is as a result of vast chunks of the media, not this channel, because we're having the conversation right now, and also the majority of politicians who just push these people away. They want to push them down. And it's perfectly okay to have concerns about all kinds of things in this country that you deem to be unfair. It's perfectly okay to be proud about this country and walk down Whitehall or any other streets in London flying a flag and say, I'm here and I'm proud to be British. What we're seeing today should be a celebration of this country. Let's just make the point, as Peter's made and you've made and I've made, we don't want to see any violence. This needs to be a peaceful march to show that there's a vast chunk of society in the country today who are simply not happy with what this government is doing.
And Duncan, I think the economy is a big part of it as well, because listening to a message from Archie, he said, he's changed his name. That's not very good. Anyway, he says, I'm in Bristol. Good morning, Mark. I'm with your caller, Jason. This is a snapshot happening in cities everywhere. I'm a self-employed person, an SME, courier in Bristol. As a direct result of the unwanted bus gates, LTNs, road closures, 20-mile-an-hour zones here in Bristol. 90% of my jobs are in Bristol. The Labour government and the Green Council have enforced upon the Bristolian taxpayer. I'm unable to fulfil my contractual obligations as traffic is being kettled onto the few main roads left usable. So that is somebody, he is actually calling himself Mark in Bristol, and he has said that it's basically impossible for him to do his job. And this is very much a working class issue.
It is, and we heard it with Jason, who was on earlier, who's a fantastic caller. People feel that the government are not on their side, and actually it goes beyond that, because you talk about Bristol, you talk about the traffic stuff in Bristol, that's not a government thing, that's a local council thing, you know, and people feel...
And it's the state.
It's the state, it's us and them, that's what it is. And I think increasingly, look, the number of people in this country who get out of bed in the morning at 6 a.m, put in a shift, as I call it, graft, pay their taxes, that number of people is getting smaller, right? And we're paying for a lot of stuff that goes on in this country for people who aren't pulling their weight, and people are frustrated. And I think there's a massive chunk in society today who feel like no one is on their side. And that can be the local council with some petty rule or regulation. That can be the government introducing stuff that wasn't in their manifesto. It's this, no one cares about me, no one is standing up for me.
Most definitely. Duncan, we've loved having you in the studio.
Always a pleasure.
You're back hosting on Talk very soon?
Yeah, a couple of weeks. I'll be doing the evening show, first week of June.
Cannot wait.
Thank you.
Because you are a stellar, premium, elite-level broadcaster and journalist. Duncan Barks, thank you.
Thank you.
Peter Blexley is going to stay with us. Are you going to the Unite the Kingdom March? If so, I'd love you to tell me why. We're going to have that conversation. You're getting unbiased coverage of this major event in central London. Talk Breakfast, don't go anywhere.
Is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in Crisis. Subscribe to The Royal Tea from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It is exactly 7:24 and the Unite the Kingdom event is happening in central London. And with me down the line, former Met Police Detective Peter Blexley. Peter, do you fear that today could play out as an example of two-tier policing?
That's my big concern, that we will see one type of policing for, say, for example, the Unite the Kingdom, Unite the West gatherers, and we might see a different kind of policing for the pro-Palestinians. Let's look at what's happened on so many of those pro-Palestinian marches since October the 7th, 2.5 years ago. People have repeatedly gathered together to call for the extermination of an entire group of people purely and simply because they are of the Jewish faith. And they have chanted and chanted and chanted for that. And what's happened? We've seen very little action by the police. And that has merely empowered these people. It's what's allowed people like the pathetic Bob Villan to stand up on stage and spout his hatred. When you appease people, you empower them. What we've also seen on previous Unite the Kingdom gatherings is the police in full riot gear, public protection gear, being very robust with anybody who dares put one foot out of line. It's not been consistent policing. But today, we have both these marches almost side by side. So will we see the Metropolitan Police do their job fairly, even-handedly, consistently, and without fear or favour? If we don't, then we will know quite clearly that they have chosen a side. They have broken the very central tenet of policing in Britain. We should have to wait and see.
Now, several international figures, broadcasters and journalists have been banned from coming into the UK to participate in today's Unite the Kingdom event, including Ezra Levant, who is the founder of Rebel News. He joined us on the show earlier, Peter. Here's a voice note on that very subject.
Good morning, Mark. It's Hev from Kent. Yeah, I was just listening to Ezra and your remark at the end saying good luck, suing the government. Well, I don't think he should sue the government. I think he should sue Starmer personally. That, government money is everybody's money and Starmer doesn't give a damn. He doesn't give a monkeys about that money and where it's going. So it's no skin off his nose. He should be sued personally. He's the one that's overstepping the mark. He's the one that thinks he's better than everybody else and he can do whatever he likes and say whatever he likes, whenever he likes. I'm absolutely disgusted with the man. It makes me absolutely sick. Absolutely sick to the back teeth. Not that I've got any of those, but anyway. He's definitely overstepping the mark, Starmer, and he's going to come a cropper. And as for Burnham, yeah, right. I'm interested in seeing the result of that.
Thank you, Hev. Good morning, Mark, says Maggie. I'm furious. How dare Starmer call decent, ordinary people who care about how this country is going thugs and far right? He provoked with his statement of address yesterday. I'm unable to go, but trust me, if I could, I would be there. If he was running the country correctly, these marches would not be needed. I'm so angry. Peter, why do you think so many people are descending on central London today?
Because, as your previous contributors have clearly shown, they don't feel that the government, that local councils are here for them. They feel that they are outliers in their own country. They didn't vote for mass, uncontrolled immigration. They didn't vote for sky-high taxes. They didn't vote for ludicrous energy prices and so much more. They are fed up that the pendulum, the societal pendulum, has swung so far to the left since 1997 that now huge swathes of Britain are unrecognisable, and those that still remain recognisable as Britain are subjected to rules, regulations and laws that make life so incredibly difficult for hard-working people who pay their taxes that then get splashed, wasted on people so often who claim benefits and simply shouldn't have the right to.
Well, absolutely. I think there's a theme emerging here, I've got to say, Peter, and it's the state, the government, the establishment elite versus the people. And you've had various policies over the years, printing money, which has inflated asset prices, making it impossible for millions of people to get on the housing ladder. And of course, you print money, you get inflation as well, which is a tax on everyone, especially the poor. Then you've got ridiculous policies like net zero, which are pushing up the cost of energy for ordinary Brits. Then you've got wokery and 100 genders, the demonisation of our history. We've got to apologise for everything, pay reparations. You've got the general economic sort of relationship with the public, which is, you know, in a downward trajectory. And then you've got mass immigration. This is a changed country that people do not feel, Peter, they voted for.
As somebody said to me the other night, they said, Peter, can you name a country where I could rock up on a shore in a dinghy, be housed, clothed, fed, and given pocket money? And I said, no, I really can't think of one. And yet we've had how many? 200,000 or more in this country in just the last few years. These kind of nonsense things. People have just simply had enough. Governments, politicians, they don't answer questions honestly. They don't appear to be there for the likes of you, me, and all your brilliant contributors today. They are not like us. They are not for us. And people have had enough.
They most definitely have. We have another voice note from, I believe, an ex-cop who's on his way to the United Kingdom event.
Hi, Mark. Great show. It's Gary from Coventry, although I'm an ex-Metropolitan Police officer. I'm going down to the march. I was there at the last one. Everybody was well behaved, what I saw, and I was in Whitehall. Just people that are fed up, want to look after their children and grandchildren. And I reckon there'll be more retired and current police officers on that march than there is police in it.
Peter, what do you think will happen this afternoon?
I think Gary might be right. I sincerely hope that people listen to the very wise words of Tommy Robinson this week. No masks, no disorder, no violence. Absolutely hit the nail on the head. That is my hope. That is my wish. And do not rise to the bait. Starmer has already tried to provoke people by banning people from coming to the UK, and his ludicrous speech yesterday. Do not give Starmer what he wants. Have a happy, joyous day surrounded by beautiful, like-minded people.
Peter, a privilege to have you on the show. We will speak very soon. Thank you so much for your time and have a good weekend. Peter Blexley, former Met Police detective. Are you going to the Unite the Kingdom event? On Talk Breakfast this morning, you're going to get wall-to-wall, unbiased coverage. In 2 words, the truth. That's what you're going to get. We shall report it accurately. And I want to know what your concerns are about the direction of the country. I want to know if you're going, why? 0344 499 1000. You won't be interrupted. You won't be gaslit. You won't be insulted. You won't be labelled this, that or the other. We will simply hear what you've got to say. This is Talk Breakfast.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It is 7:34. Are you going on the Unite the Kingdom march? If so, let me know why. Have we got any voice notes on that subject? Let's take a listen to some of your feedback across the board. Before we do that, here is a message from Mick. Earlier, I spoke to a Canadian broadcaster called Ezra Levant, and Mick has said, Mark, how can Ezra be banned from entering the UK when a convicted terrorist can stand for a Birmingham seat in the recent local elections? Love the show, from a very angry Mick. OK, let's take another voice note.
Morning, Mark. Just thought I'd let you know I'm on the train with my 2 sons from Birmingham to London. We are now approaching. I'm actually one of the far-right hooligans. So I hope you have a good day, because I'm gonna. Bye.
Thank you, my darling, and I definitely don't think you're far right. And of course, that's the way you're characterised by the political and media class. It's not going to happen, not on my watch. Phil Dave is a talk broadcaster and presenter. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Mark.
It's not going to work, is it, for upwards of 500,000 people to be labelled far right and racist this afternoon?
No, I think that the language we're seeing coming from our Prime Minister, the leader of Great Britain, is absolutely pathetic beyond words, because we all know he's using deliberately provocative language to try and make us look like the horrible people, the patriots of this country, the ones who've had enough, who want our country back to normality, and we're the evil ones, apparently. Well, no, we're not, Prime Minister, and it's no matter how many times you call us far right or racist, we ain't going to fall for it anymore.
Most definitely not. And the police have got a mighty job on their hands to be fair and balanced.
Totally, they have, but then at the same time, they've not really necessarily got a reputation of being fair and balanced if we look at other marches to compare it. But, oops, did I say that out loud? Look, I think that in terms of how we can ensure the police do behave themselves, how sad we have to say that, how the police behave themselves. But anyway, to make sure that they do behave themselves, we need to take the very wise words of your last guest, Mr. Peter Blexley, and everyone needs to be very peaceful, very calm, and not give them any reason whatsoever to act and to start pouncing on those who are attending the march with perfectly good intention. And that's the way we have to do that. We have to show them that they are wrong when they accuse anyone who is going to this march today as being some sort of hooligan who's a threat to the country.
And why do you think so many people will be turning up in central London in their thousands today? What is motivating their participation, do you think?
The love of the country that they once knew. Personally, that's what I think it is. I think people have just had enough. You know, we can also, how many times do we speak about on Talk the situation this country finds itself in? The number of times that we hear people phoning up almost on the brink of desperation, so sad for the area that they've lived in all their life and how they've seen it changed and disintegrate, deteriorate, and all of the things above that we could mention as to how it has gone so badly wrong. And yet, nothing seems to be being done about it. No one is seemingly taking action against those who wish us harm. No one is, frankly, turfing out the people who have broken into this country, who don't hold British values close to their heart, who simply hate us as a nation. It's not really a wonder people have had enough.
It's most definitely not. Let's take another voice note.
Why hasn't Keir Starmer been arrested for incitement to violence? Any of us would be arrested straight away if we said that live, wouldn't we? And you know something, right? This incitement to violence, right? Is it so that if it does kick off, that he's got the powers to create an emergency situation where he's got powers then to lock the country down or to curfew the country until that emergency situation has been lifted? Very suspicious that, because any prime minister that has to bring it as an emergency time, he's allowed to stay in office, isn't he? He doesn't have to go, even if he's been sacked. He can stay in office as long as he likes until the emergency situation that he starts is lifted by him. How convenient.
Well, it's a fair point. I can't disagree with you. Julian is in Birmingham, in England's second city. Good morning, Julian.
Hi, good morning, Mark.
Julian, why do you think this Unite the Kingdom event is happening today? Why do you think so many people are going to show up?
Because I think people are frightened for what's happening to the country for their kids and for the grandkids.
Yeah.
I think people just want to be heard, have a voice.
Most definitely. It feels, Julian, like we've got a country that's changed dramatically in the last 2 or 3 decades that people do not feel they voted for.
Well, I'm partly to blame for that, because in the last general election, I've always been a Tory voter, and I didn't vote at all because I just felt like nobody represents me. But now I feel like we've got a voice. I feel like with Reform and more so Restore, we've got a voice finally.
Most definitely. And what do you make of the Prime Minister's reaction to what's going to happen today, with him suggesting it's about division and racism?
I don't think the Prime Minister's got a clue. I don't think he has a grip on reality at all. I feel if he turned up, obviously he couldn't turn up, but if he really saw what people think of the type of people that are there and the feeling of everybody, we're just normal people. We're just normal people want our country back.
Most definitely. And Julian, I think there are a number of factors, aren't there? Mass immigration, illegal immigration, but also an economy that is just not working for most people.
Yeah, well, in my lifetime, I'm 56 now. In my lifetime, I've never known a Labour government who has any idea how to run the economy. I mean, the Tories were bad with immigration, as we've found out, but at least they know how to grow an economy. At least the right know how to grow an economy.
Yeah. It's what they stand for, isn't it?
Yeah.
Julian, what do you think is going to happen today? Do you think it will be peaceful?
I'm praying that it'll be peaceful. I came on the last one in September, and it was a carnival atmosphere. I just urge everybody who comes to, just be respectful of everybody, and I'm sure it'll go fine.
Julian, briefly, before I let you go, you are in your 60s now. How have you seen your country and your city change in your lifetime?
Well, I'm only in my 50s.
Oh, 50s.
I'm 56, yeah. My town is dramatically changed. I've always lived in a town that's got a very high Muslim population, but now it's got an African population. It's the town centre is, well, it's dead because there's no businesses running anymore, and the only people running around town are immigrants and drug addicts. And we need to get British people back to work, and we need to create jobs. We need to change the welfare system, just change everything in this country, really.
Julian, I completely agree with you. I've been saying it for a long time. We need an economic, societal and political revolution. Julian, call me again soon. It's been brilliant to have you on the show with fascinating thoughts. Phil Dave, Talk Broadcaster, your reaction to what Julian had to say.
Well, what a disgusting example of the far right Julian is. That's all I can say. What a revolting human. Fancy wanting his country back. What's wrong with him? Well, that's at least what the Prime Minister thinks, clearly. Look, no, Julian speaks for the masses, clearly. There are so many of us out there who don't feel like we're being heard. And one point that Julian made that I really want to pick up on is he was saying that he thinks that Starmer doesn't realise what's going on, or he's so disconnected, I think was the word he used. I don't believe he is disconnected. I think he knows exactly what's going on. But he is so under the thumb of people who he thinks he has to have in his pocket, or he has to be in their pocket, I should say, more likely, to get their votes and to get their backing, that he has to be almost anti-British just to make sure that he is not portrayed in the way he is trying to portray those of us who want to unite the kingdom. So I think it really is quite pathetic and quite sad that we've got a Prime Minister who clearly is prepared to be treasonous. That's the only way I can think of describing it, really.
And Phil, when people say they want their country back, and they'll be saying that this afternoon in central London, what do they mean by that, do you think?
Oh, I can say very clearly what that is, because I know a lot of people out there would jump on the old bandwagon of, oh, it's such a racist comment. We've had so much migration and therefore that's what you're talking about. You want to go back to when England was all white. Well, just to be really clear, England hasn't been all white for hundreds of years. So no one alive actually remembers that time. So let's be really clear on that front. So that's absolutely not what people mean. What people mean when they say they want their country back is they want people who respect British values and British culture. They want people who understand that Britain is first and foremost a Christian country. That doesn't mean you can't practice other religions. I myself, I've never made it any hidden secret I'm Jewish. So believe me, that's someone from a minority saying that this is a Christian country. But it also means that people remember how to be decent, law-abiding citizens, hard-working, and want to live a life that is decent for them and their family. They don't want to be surrounded by shoplifters. They don't want to be surrounded by drug users. They don't want to be surrounded by people who are just grifters and just try and get away with it and bleed the state dry. And I know that we've always had people who've tried to take advantage of the better nature of the UK. And we certainly don't want a country that is overpopulated with, frankly, the rubbish of the world. There are people in this country who have broken in illegally, who clearly are criminals escaping from their own country because they know if they stayed where they were from, they would probably be either criminally charged or put to death. And frankly, the fact that this country has become what I can only describe as the dustbin of the world is nothing short of pathetic. We've had enough. We want Britain back.
And can we get the country back? Can the genie go back in the bottle? Can Britain be saved?
Well, it's interesting because actually this was a discussion I had with my mother literally last night. She was saying about how it's too late now. My mother is also very much a patriot, really loves the country the way it used to be. And she has said it's too late now. There's nothing can be done for it. But I fundamentally disagree. I understand why people think like that, especially in London and the surrounding areas and some of the bigger cities as well. But the truth is, if we actually get a government in power who understands this point of view and recognises how damaged the country has become, I'm not saying it's a quick fix, but I fundamentally believe that yes, it is not too late, that we can all pull together and we can restore the country to its former glory. I really, really believe that, and I urge anyone who is feeling down or depressed about it, don't be, because this Unite the Kingdom march today proves you are not alone in the way you think.
Phil, brilliant to have you on the show. Thank you so much for making the time this morning. Phil Dave, talk presenter and broadcaster and journalist. Are you going to the Unite the Kingdom event? If so, I really want to hear why you're going. Tell me all about it. What are your expectations for the day? Were you there last year? Here's a voice note on that very subject.
Talk. Hi, Mark. It's Ian from East Grinstead. The Unite the Country March. We know it will be peaceful, but there are going to be some left-wing agitators who are going to deliberately go there to try and create violence, maybe even disguised as Unite the Country marches, because there's nothing more than they want than to portray the normal British person who wants to go back to a decent country as far right. This is Starmer's army of lunatics who want to destroy this country, and they'll be there to create as much trouble as possible, and then everything will be flung at the British people marching for the country.
Are you attending the Unite the Kingdom event today? If so, I'm putting you on air next.
Crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, are you off to the Unite the Kingdom event today? This is Talk Breakfast 7:51. Carol's in Stevenage. She's on her way. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Mark. How you doing?
I'm very well. Now, Carol, which are you, far right or racist?
Do you know what? I had a black stepdad. I've got black children. My grandchildren from one side are Muslim. Their grandparents are Muslim. I've also got white grandchildren. It ain't a race thing, Mark. You know what it is? It's a respect thing. And I'll tell you what it is. When I was younger, and I was brought up in London, everyone was your auntie, regardless of whether they were black, white. You called them auntie. It was respect. But now, over the last 30 years, they've made this divide where everyone's in their little box. There's no mixing anymore like there used to be. They've caused this divide.
Most definitely. And if you're a white person now, then somehow you're the problem.
Do you know what? I really don't think anyone gives two toffees or hoots what Keir Starmer says anymore. If he calls you a far right, I think everyone wears that badge of honour now.
Well,
it's been used.
Well, I totally agree. And Carol, here's an inconvenient truth. You've just outlined your own background, and you shouldn't have to, should you? But, you know, it's worth noting what you've said.
My family, we were originally from the East End. And as far as the way I see it, it was 600 years of East Enders. And slowly they started getting displaced. So they moved them to Hackney. And then they moved them to Edmonton. And then they moved them to Enfield. And now everyone's in the home counties. So when you hear people saying, you should be more sympathetic, they've been displaced, I'm like, what about my family? We were displaced. I want to go home.
100%. Well, whatever happened to the Cockneys, hounded out of their own city, in my opinion?
This is what I'm saying. If we were displaced, there's none of us left. And to hear someone say, yeah, but you've got to be accepting because they've been displaced, well, what about us?
No, displacement is what's happened. I was born in this city and I've seen it change. And Carol, the other interesting fact about today's event is that it's going to be attended by people of all races, religions, colours, backgrounds, you name it.
I know I'm going to be meeting them along the way. There's about 15 of us. Black, Iranian, every colour really. We all meet up and then we head on to where we're going. So it's, you know what, whatever Keir Starmer says. But you know what, because I've got black kids, I first got into this about 2 years ago. And Keir Starmer and everyone was going on about this far right thing. And as a mother of black kids and having a black stepdad, yeah, I was like, no, I don't want to go to this, they're far right. And because they kept screaming it, it makes you run towards it. Because you want to be nosy, you want to find out what's going on. And then I went there and I was like, we've been lied to. We've been lied to all these years. We've been lied to.
About who these people are and about what this kind of event actually is.
Yeah, because I didn't go. I never went to anything because I was told all these people, all this is far right. So having black kids, I was like, I can't go to that. They're far right. And then when I thought, no, I'm going to go and be nosy. I think it was the St George's event about 2 years ago. I thought I'm going to go and be nosy. And I tell you what, it was the best day I ever had. The sense of pride when you're walking along, it's like being in the 70s or the 80s. You know, that feeling of pride.
And this is nothing to do with skin colour. It's about Britishness. It's about national identity. It's about our values and our history, is it not, Carol?
Yes, it's about that. And as I said to you, it's about respect. Damn respect. If there's a black woman, that's your auntie. If there's a white woman, that's your auntie, regardless of colour. And that's what we need to get back here with these kids, respect.
And lovely Carol, you shouldn't have to say, should you, that your stepfather was a black man. You shouldn't have to say that your children are of colour. You know you shouldn't have to say that.
No, you shouldn't have to say it. But at the end of the day, you always feel like you have to justify that you're not far right. And personally, I know I'm not far right. I really couldn't give a damn. I'd rather be far right than be a dirty, stinking Marxist. That's for sure.
Carol, more power to you. More power to you. Listen, it's probably over half the country now. I think it's the vast majority that are so-called far right.
I think they've lost control. The left have lost control.
Yeah.
And it's not like 1974 where they went out and did all this and then Thatcher come in and stuck them all back in the box and they all went quiet. Because when this day's over, they ain't hiding nowhere.
Most definitely not.
You destroyed this country. Don't think it's going to be like when Thatcher come in and you all went and hid.
Too right.
30 years. No chance.
Carol, enjoy the day today, and more power to you. And maybe we can chat tomorrow if you've got time. Give me a call and let me know how it went. Thank you, Carol. Enjoy it. Danny's in the capital already. Hi, Danny.
Good morning. So I'd just like to tell you, we're actually here having our coffee. We went to the march last year, and we couldn't actually get on it because the bridges were closed. So we went to Trafalgar Square, and my friend had a Union Jack. He was a very nice boy, my friend, very, very quiet boy. And we met the other march, whatever they're called, the Palestinian mob, and they were pointing their fingers at us, putting two fingers at us, shouting abusive things, shouting things against Jewish people, and there was a cop next to him, a very nice man. I said, how can you let him talk to us like that? He didn't answer me, completely ignored me. You do that today against a Muslim person, you'll get arrested, I promise you.
Well, you're completely right about that. And so, Danny, you're actually ready for the event now as we speak. Are you down there in central London?
Yeah. We're actually in Baker Street, but we're going to walk down there.
You're going to get down there. And what are your hopes for the day? What do you think it will achieve?
It will just make a point. He's obviously winding up Starmer. I mean, as you say, I think he's banned 11 people from speaking. Free speech nation. How can you ban people from speaking?
Yeah.
But there'll be other people speaking. Everybody, look, as that lady said before, there's people from all different colours, all different races. We're all nice and we all speak to each other. It's like being on holiday and there's all Brits in a hotel, if you know what I mean. Like everyone's on the same wavelength. No one's got anything against each other. But you see this other march, they'll be shouting things against Israel, and the police just watch them. After what's happened to all these Jewish people, it's disgusting. It is disgusting what's happening here. Disgusting.
It is, and today's event sounds to me, Danny, like it's not about skin colour, it's about national identity and Britishness.
Yeah, but I don't. Do you think he's winding us? I honestly think he's doing it on. I think he wants trouble there, Starmer, so he can say all these.
A lot of people have said that.
I honestly, I mean, it doesn't make main difference to me, but I honestly think, and there will be scuffles there. You know there will be. When you get 1 million people there, there's always a few wrongers. You can't help it. It will be scuffles, but you only hear about them. You won't hear about the other march when there's scuffles on BBC News.
Danny, stay safe and enjoy the event. Lovely to have you on the show. Well, look, we've got blanket coverage for the next 2 hours of the Unite the Kingdom event in central London. Are you going? I want to know why you're going, what your concerns are about the direction of the country. You're not going to be labelled, abused, gaslit, put in a box, any of those things. I simply want to get to the truth and hear what you think. So much more to come. This is Talk Breakfast.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
3 minutes past 8. Mark Dolan with you for a very, very big show this morning. And breaking as we come on air, Starmer knows it's over. If Andy Burnham wins the Makerfield by-election, it's our understanding the Prime Minister will throw in the towel. Under those circumstances, an orderly transition following a rubber-stamping leadership election will see Britain under new management by the autumn. But is Andy Burnham the answer for Britain? My phone number is 0344 499 1000. Text the word TALK in your message to 87222. Or leave us a voice note and let's talk. Of course, the big political event of the day is a march in central London. It's called Unite the Kingdom, populated by 100, 200, 300,000 people, perhaps 500,000, who are not happy about the direction of the country. Are you going? Talk Breakfast is going to bring you balanced, fair, truthful and unbiased coverage. And I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts about modern Britain? Did anyone vote for this? Enormous levels of immigration, an economy that doesn't work for working people, net zero. Public frustration has reached fever pitch. It's a boiling point. So why are you going to this event? Give me a call, 0344 499 1000. Let's hear the remarks of the Prime Minister in anticipation of this event this afternoon in the capital.
Starmer's going to survive as Prime Minister. It's a tough thing unless you...
Well, that was the Prime Minister speaking just in the last 24 hours in anticipation of this Unite the Kingdom march. Ben Habib is the leader of Advance UK. Good morning, Ben.
Morning, Mark.
Why do you think, Ben, that upwards of 500,000 people will descend on central London today?
Well, for the very reasons that you described. I think people are absolutely feeling wretched with the way this country is being not governed, how borders are let down, how illegal migrants are welcomed into the country in their tens of thousands, how when they get here they are treated better than our own are treated, how they assault our women and children, repeated cases now, increasingly repeated cases now of girls being sexually assaulted by illegal migrants who are staying in hotels and come out of these hotels, perpetrate their crimes, go back, have barbecues, watch them on videos, and we're seeing all of this taking place. And these people being dispersed right across the country. And then, of course, there's mass legal migration, where people are coming into this country, not contributing to our economy, trying to promote their own political agendas, living on our benefit system. We've got 1.5 million foreigners on benefits, on universal credit, another 600,000 on benefit, costing us, in my estimate, something close to 20 billion pounds a year, when we absolutely need that money for our own people. Net zero, which has added at least 50% to the cost of electricity in your home, requires you to retrofit your home to the point where you can't afford to live in it, is going to make 80% of commercial property in this country redundant by 2030, when an EPC-B certificate is required. Two-tier criminal justice system, which favors all this progressive discrimination, puts a protective blanket around and promotes the interests of foreigners over British people. Freedom of speech being shut down. You just heard this. You just heard I think it was someone from the police that you played saying that they were going to be arresting anyone who participates in hate speech. He didn't say they would arrest anyone who participates in inciting violence, which would be the normal and correct thing to say. He said he would arrest anyone who participates in hate speech. In other words, anything they disagree with is going to result in an arrest. They're shutting down freedom of speech. Starmer volunteered himself that 7 people have been banned from coming into the UK. Need I go on, Mark? I see you're smiling because I'm kind of on a roll, but I could go on and on and on. And that's why the people of this country are absolutely fed up. Even in that reset speech that Starmer made a few days ago, he just couldn't help himself. He described the white working class in this country as far right. He just can't help himself.
And I'm smiling because it's so good to hear the truth. And that's something that establishment media, establishment politicians will seek to crush today. They will characterise this as an extremist event.
They will. And let me say, I was at the 13th of September event. They love to say there were 100,000 people there. There was at least 500,000 people there, and probably more. The throng of people went all the way to the stage.
We've seen the aerial footage.
You've seen the footage, but they want to downplay the number of people there, and they want to upplay the amount of violence. I saw nothing other than peaceful protest it wasn't even a protest. It was a celebration of what it is to be British. Families turned up on the 13th. All you saw was a sea of Union flags, St. George's flags, flag of Northern Ireland, St. Andrews, and the Welsh flag. You saw flags of this country. How can that be offensive to any British politician? How do we get offended? Today, we're going to have this pro-Palestinian march, and we've got this Unite the Kingdom rally. The defining difference between these two is that the rally is for this country. It's for love of this country. The other march is for hatred of Israel and for the promotion of a foreign people. It's got nothing to do with the United Kingdom. And yet they're put on the same level, and the police treat them with the same contempt. Actually, they treat the UTK march or the rally with more contempt than they do the pro-Pally one. It is absolutely absurd. An advanced UK government would have banned that pro-Palestinian march today. Let the people celebrate, promote, and speak for the United Kingdom. It's absolutely sickening to see the way that these two marches have been put on ostensibly level pegging by the authorities and described as exactly the same kind of thing. And that speech that you showed of Starmer, standing there and saying he will not tolerate hatred directed towards anyone in this country. This country belongs to all of us. Well, who is he talking about when he says all of us? I don't recognize those people speaking for a foreign power, promoting, in many respects, Hamas, foreign terrorist groups. I don't see them as representing this country. I don't see them as speaking for the people of this country. Why are we not cracking down on them?
Most definitely. I took a call earlier from a gentleman that's been working all night. He drives a van. It's very difficult. In recent months, he's lost his hours. But as you know, Ben, his costs have increased, whether it's inflation or the cost of fuel and much besides. He'll be attending today because he's had enough. And a big part of this, we mentioned net zero, we mentioned mass immigration, we mentioned the boats, we mentioned the hate marches, but the economy's a big factor too.
Absolutely. And of course, Mark, if you practice policies that are deeply damaging to the social fabric of this country, that are so generous to people coming to this country and not working, that hijack our energy costs, that make it hugely expensive for the consumer to exist because they have to, as I mentioned, retrofit their houses, change their perfectly good cars for electric cars, change their perfectly good gas boilers for heat exchangers. If you force this agenda down their throats, of course they're going to be upset. We know we don't need to pay an extra 50% on the cost of electricity just because of green levies. We know that. We know that this is a choice the government is making. We know that it's a choice the government makes when it refuses to hand out licenses to exploit North Sea oil and gas. We know it's a choice the government makes when it tells us to sell our perfectly good cars. We know it's a choice the government makes when it taxes us when we use our cars. ULEZ, 48% at the pump, and then fuel duty, 48%, and then VAT on top of that. These are all choices the government is making.
Not to mention the cult. Not to mention, Ben. Not to mention the cult of welfareism, in which 600,000 households are better off at home not working.
Absolutely. The welfare system is no longer a protective blanket for those who fall on hard times, giving them temporary support in order to get back into work. It has become a career option. And we've got 8 million people in this country on universal credit. A welfare bill of 350 billion a year, 35% of the budget goes on welfare. And people go on about, 150 billion of that is pensions. Do you know that we are actually paying pensions to people who've never paid NIC, people who've never worked in this country? benefits now count. If you've been on benefits in your life, they now count towards your pension pot as if you had contributed national insurance. The whole point about a pension is that you get looked after because you've worked all your life, but people on benefits are getting it. And here's where it gets even worse, Mark. If you're a foreigner on benefits, you are treated as if you've made national insurance contributions, and you will get a pension in the United Kingdom as a foreigner where you have not worked. Can you believe that?
It's utter insanity, and I'm speechless just at the thought of that. And Ben, the other issue we have to talk about today, this event in central London is not about skin colour, is it? It's about
absolutely not
Britishness. You are yourself a man of ethnicity. I am as well, technically, as an Irishman. And this is not about skin colour. It's about national identity. It's about Britishness.
Absolutely right. And at the heart of a peaceful, prosperous nation must be a settled, coherent, largely homogenous culture. It is culture that binds people together, creates the trust system within a society so that we can all go about our daily business understanding each other. And it is that same trust system that results, that cultural identification, common identification, that creates a love for a country and a desire to protect it and a preparedness when necessary to die for it. And we have broken our British culture. We're breaking it. We've broken it. We're damaging it. We are practicing multiculturalism, which is literally the setting aside of what it means to be British and therefore the British state. The practices being adopted, that have been adopted by government, being practiced by the policies being practiced by government, are actually destroying this country, Mark. They are destroying this country. And the UTK rally is a cry from the people to please restore our country. Restore our culture, restore our people, restore our sense of belonging, restore our identity, restore what it means to be who we used to be. That's what we want.
Ben, fantastic to have you on the show. Thank you for your impassioned remarks. It's always brilliant to speak to you. Ben Habib is the leader of Advance UK. Chris is on his way to the Unite the Kingdom event in central London. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Mark. We've spoken many times. I'm in fact just on my way to the shower when you called me to get ready. I'm looking forward to today. I didn't go to the last one. I was concerned that it could turn nasty. And I'm the main carer for my 89-year-old mother who is bedridden with Parkinson's and dementia. And I can't afford to be kettled or arrested because I need to be here to look after her. But today I have paid a lot of money for carers to come in and out and to be with Mum. And I've bought my T-shirt, United Kingdom, and I've got my flag, and I'm very much looking to meet up with my Sikh friend and my British Jamaican friend, and we're going together, and we're going to have a great day.
And the fact that it's British people of all ethnicities attending today is going to kill the argument that this is a racist event.
Absolutely. Now, the thing is, Mark, I was hoping that, I was thinking that Samara might have been there to film it, or somebody from...
I think Samara's going to be down there.
Oh, great. Because I'm going to be videoing to show exactly what it's like, and I will send your team the raw footage of what a celebration it is to be British.
Well, I would really appreciate that. Dean and Tommy, when Chris hangs up, he's going to give you his details and he'll send us footage, which I think is a brilliant idea. So thank you for that. Go on, Chris.
I think, let's put it this way. For years, I took the red pill from the government and the mainstream media and thought Tommy Robinson was a thug, all right? And about 2 years ago, I started changing my mind. And then I watched, and I implore everybody to watch the Jordan Peterson interview and the Alex Phillips interview with Tommy, and you will understand he is not. That is not. He's a perfectly flawed individual. to my mind, all right, and people, you know, and I've posted this. History will look back at Tommy Robinson, and he will be the 21st century Cromwell and Churchill rolled up into one perfectly flawed human being, just as they were.
Chris, what a brilliant call, and thank you so much for that. I want to know if you're going to this event in central London today. If so, tell me why. Lots more to come. This is 8:18 Talk Breakfast.
The Crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
8:21. It's my understanding that record numbers of people are watching Talk Breakfast live on YouTube as we speak. So head over to YouTube, search Talk and hit the live button if you'd like to see what we're up to, if you'd like to watch Dolan's Dispatch and watch our balanced, fair and honest coverage and reporting of the Unite the Kingdom event in central London. Here's a voice note on that very subject.
Morning, Mark. It's Wayne from Erdington in Birmingham, mate. I just hope this march all goes off nice and peaceful, because there's nothing more Keith Starling would like than to bash a few people up that are British and that are white. He's a horror show for this country, mate. I'm completely sick to the back teeth of him. Everybody else is as well. Keep up the good work, Mark, baby. Have a good show and have a good weekend.
Top man, thank you for that. Keep those calls and voice notes coming. There is a small matter of who remains our Prime Minister. Well, it's our understanding that if Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, wins the Makerfield by-election, that the Prime Minister will throw in the towel. But of course, it's a big if as to whether Burnham can win this seat, which has a majority of just under 5,500 for Labour. Let's have a look at the prospects for the Mayor of Greater Manchester in the company of the legendary Sir John Curtis, polling expert and Professor of Politics at the University of Strathclyde. Sir John, a privilege to have you on the show. Welcome back, sir.
Good morning to you, Mark.
Well, that's the million-dollar question. Can Andy Burnham win this by-election?
Well, he's certainly got a very, very formidable challenge on his hands. The result back in 2024, the Labour lead over the Reform was just 13 points, making it the 7th most marginal contest between Labour and Reform at that election. And of course, since then, in the local elections last week, we saw Reform win 50% of the vote in the constituency, in the local election wards there, with the Labour Party at around a quarter. So Labour start effectively from a long way behind. But for the fact that Andy Burnham is standing, I think we would be saying this is a very, very difficult by-election for Labour. This is a godsend to Reform, almost odds-on chances of being able to add to their tally of by-election successes and their numbers inside the House of Commons. But of course, we do know that Andy Burnham is more popular than his party. If we look at the result of the Greater Manchester mayoral election in 2024, just weeks before the general election, Mr. Burnham got 63% of the vote, whereas the Labour Party in the general election got 43%. But for Mr. Burnham, the challenge is being able to translate a vote for somebody who stands up for Manchester in an election which is designed to focus on candidates as much as parties, into a vote in a particular constituency where the person is standing for Westminster. Oh, and by the way, the person is now known to be somebody who is want to try to unseat the Prime Minister. Very different set of circumstances, and therefore how far his personal vote will be able to translate in the by-election is certainly, again, a very considerable degree of uncertainty.
Well, that's the tension point, isn't it, Sir John? The relative popularity and high profile of Andy Burnham in that region versus antipathy towards the current administration.
Sure.
Obviously, it's a guessing game to a degree. Sir John, to what extent could turnout be a decisive factor?
Well, it's a question that's often asked about elections, and of course, turnout in by-elections tends to be lower. But I mean, I think this is going to get an awful lot of publicity. And as we saw in the Caerphilly Senedd by-election a few months ago, if something becomes really highly publicised and is thought to be a real contest between two largely opposing sides, then sometimes the turnout tends to be markedly higher. But I think the question that we now also need to know is who is going to stand for Reform. I think the truth is that given that this is an election that Reform ought to win, it's an election which Reform have a strong interest in winning because, so far as they're concerned, perpetuating the chaos inside the Labour Party, as opposed to perhaps paving the way for what might indeed prove to be a coronation. That's something that Reform would regard as to their advantage. But then the question, who are they going to put up? Who is going to provide a match in terms of the quality of candidature to that of Andy Burnham? We will await that with interest. But I think it's going to be Reform's interest to put up a high quality, perhaps one of their better known senior personnel who are not currently inside the House of Commons, so that they're clearly indicating that they're also willing to take this constituency in this by-election seriously.
That's the dilemma, isn't it, for Reform UK, Sir John? Do they go for a national figure like Zia Youssef, who is their Home Affairs spokesperson? Of course, they tried a well-known figure in Matthew Goodwin at Gorton and Denton, and some take the view it backfired. That's the dilemma. Do they go for a locally respected figure or a national politician with profile? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah, and the question is, do they have a locally respected figure who is already well-known, etc., etc.? And of course, as a relatively new party, it's perhaps more difficult for Reform to identify such an individual, but who knows? But I think one should say, I mean, this is clearly much, much more propitious territory for Reform than Gorton and Denton was, and conversely, much more difficult for Mr. Burnham. This is a constituency where 2/3 of people voted for Brexit back in 2016. Support for Reform is very heavily concentrated amongst those people who voted for Brexit, and that's why this is a by-election where, frankly, we start off with Reform as the favourites to be able to win.
Most definitely. And so with Reform in pole position, that's quite fascinating. Turnout should be high, Sir John, because you've mentioned the publicity that will surround this by-election. It feels unprecedented, given the fact that the good people of Makerfield will effectively be choosing our next Prime Minister, won't they?
They will indeed. I mean, the only closest analogy to this is back in 1963, when Sir Alec Douglas Hume was put forward by the so-called Conservative Magic Circle as the Prime Minister to succeed Harold Macmillan, but he was a member of the House of Lords as Lord Hume, so he had to find a seat in the House of Commons, and a by-election was engineered in Perthshire in Scotland for Sir Alec to stand, and then he won. But of course, that was simply a party putting forward somebody who everybody agreed should be their Prime Minister. Here we've got a party putting forward somebody somewhere who is proposing to try to become Prime Minister by challenging the existing Prime Minister of their party. Yeah, I mean, the truth is that the circumstances are wholly unprecedented. And it does raise the fascinating question as to how Andy Burnham is going to fight this by-election, because on the one hand, he's clearly going to want to try to distance himself from the current government because the current government at the moment is unpopular. But on the other hand, he's going to have to try to avoid being avowedly critical of Keir Starmer in particular. Very difficult, because otherwise he's at risk of putting off that minority of 2024 Labour supporters who would still be willing to turn out for Labour. Also fascinating to see how many cabinet ministers turn up to back him, which ones turn up. Will somebody like Steve Reid, who is clearly very close to the Prime Minister, still be turning up, or will it be more likely people like Wes Streeting, Yvette Cooper and Ed Miliband, all of whom are, as it were, relatively speaking, known to be thinking it's time for Keir Starmer to stand down? We might see the divisions inside the Cabinet exposed in the guest list of those who are supporting Andy Burnham.
So, John, in your professional opinion, Reform UK are edging it slightly in terms of the chances of winning?
I mean, in terms of where we are now, given what happened last week, we start this by-election with Reform well ahead. We, of course, will be now looking very much. I anticipate that there will be opinion polls in the constituencies sooner rather than later, and they could have quite an important influence. Andy Burnham will be wanting those polls to be looking an awful lot better than local election results to suggest that he is at least within shouting distance, whoever is standing for Reform, if not indeed ahead, so that he develops momentum and particularly then tries to persuade those who might otherwise be inclined to vote for the Greens or the Democrats, and the Greens got 12% in the local elections in the constituency, that they should be backing him, A, to stop Reform, but B, also as providing a pathway for getting rid of the Prime Minister. On the other hand, of course, the Green Party, like Reform, don't really want Mr. Burnham to win, because it's in their interest too for Labour's leadership difficulties to be continuing, because at the moment it is the Greens who are primarily taking support away from Labour, and it's a principal foundation for their rise under Zach Polanski.
And Sir John, briefly, as you will be well aware, the Unite the Kingdom march is happening today in central London. Do you think the Prime Minister has to be careful how he characterises this event?
Well, I think the truth is that we all need to be careful about characterising both the events that are taking place today. Well, it's clearly those people who you've been talking to are concerned about Britishness, about the need to have a common culture in the UK, and Unite the Kingdom are talking about that. We equally, of course, have another march going in London, which is commemorating the expulsion of Palestinians from significant parts of what are now Israel. And I think that march also has to be respected. Of course, around both of them, there are potentially significant tensions. one just has to hope that those who participate in both marches have the sense to make their case without necessarily causing difficulty and trouble for the police or for anybody else.
Indeed. People concerned about high levels of immigration, people concerned about the illegal boat crossings, Sir John, they can't now be characterised as a minority rabble, can they?
Oh, no. I mean, it's perfectly clear, particularly so far as those who are concerned about those who are crossing the boats and entering the UK in an irregular fashion. It's very, very clear from the opinion polls that group and that aspect of immigration, at least, is deeply unpopular, widespread across the UK. More regular migration, there is something of a debate, but public opinion has shifted to a degree, saying that maybe even the levels of regular migration we've experienced, certainly more recently, are not necessarily to the UK's advantage. That said, we should remember, for a variety of largely technical reasons, the level of migration is going to fall quite dramatically during the course of the last 12 months. So to that extent, at least, perhaps the issue is going to become something less of a concern and certainly something less of the headlines.
Sir John, we love having you on the show. Thank you so much for your valuable time. I look forward to our next on-air encounter. Sir John Curtis, of course, a legend of polling and the Professor of Politics at the University of Strathclyde. There is nobody on the planet I would want to speak to you more than Sir John when it comes to potential electoral outcomes. And Sir John, on the record there, as saying that Reform UK are the favourites to win the Makerfield by-election. What does that mean? Well, that means it's game over for Andy Burnham's political career, in my opinion. It also means that it's all to play for Keir Starmer, but we'll be watching that race with keen interest. Are you going to the Unite the Kingdom march today in central London? Here's a voice note.
Hi Mark, this is Adam. Just a quick one on the Unite the Kingdom march. I hope everything goes well there today and there's no trouble. If far right means me being worried about my daughter's future and how this country's going, then do you know what? They can call me far right all they want, because do you know what? It's boring. Just like Starmer's boring and just like his time is up. Anyway, mate, great show, mate. Keep up the good fight.
Top man, really appreciate that. Well, we've got record numbers of people watching Talk Breakfast this morning on YouTube. If you want to see the show and see my guests and watch Dolan's Dispatch, head over to YouTube, search Talk and up we pop. And we are bringing you balanced, fair, honest coverage of the Unite the Kingdom event, which is happening in central London. People are gathering already in their thousands. Could be 500,000 today. Let's see how it all plays out. Are you going? If so, why? Your call's next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast, and the Unite the Kingdom march is happening in central London today, with people concerned about the direction of travel of the country, net zero, an economy that doesn't work for working people, and of course, immigration. Believe we've got a voice note on that very subject.
It's Mike in Whitney here. Your caller Chris, what a great guy. I hope he has a great day. Also previously Ben Habib, what a fantastic rant. I was at a Reform meeting at Shiplake near Henley last night, and it was great. But also afterwards, people were talking, and they were hoping that when the time comes, that Ben Habib, Vance, and Rupert Lowe will join with Reform and do what's best for the country. Wouldn't that be marvellous? Great show. Let's hope today goes really well. And Bastama, what an evil, nasty piece of work he is. He's inciting violence. And basically, he's telling the Muslims and Islamists, I'm on your side against the British people.
Thank you very much for your voice note. Now, of course, the Prime Minister would completely disagree with that. He would argue he's a great patriot who's standing up for British people, standing up against division. And the word evil is a very strong word to use against the Prime Minister. But can I tell you something? This is Talk, and you're entitled to your view, as is Ellie Hodges, political commentator and broadcaster. Good morning, Ellie.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's really good to see you. Why do you think upwards of 500,000 people will be descending on central London today?
I think that the reason that this is happening, and I agree with what Trevor Phillips said actually at after the last rally, is that this absolutely petrifies the mainstream media and the two main political parties, because Tommy Robinson has been able to, and he has recently come out of prison, and he's been able to get so many people, and we saw at the last rally, to come out in support of him and in support of all of the speakers that he has there as well. So I think that this absolutely petrifies mainstream media. It petrifies the two main political parties, because they have been saying that Tommy Robinson, they've been branding him and condemning him as a far-right thug, and yet he's still being able to get this many people to come out in support of him. And I agree with Trevor Phillips, and I walked through it last year, and it is majority full of normal people, the kind of people that you'd meet down the pub or at a football game.
Which is what Trevor Phillips said in his article in the Times.
Yeah, and I thought that he was spot on in everything that he said there. And I don't agree with a lot of the things that will happen at the rally today. I don't agree with some of the speakers that they've invited, for example. However, it's so important that this should be allowed to happen, and it's so important that we embrace protesting. And we've also got the pro-Palestine march happening today as well, and I think that we will see two-tier policing, and we already know that they're going to be using live facial recognition cameras. This is kind of the biggest event that they've used it widespread on as well. And they're not using it on the pro-Palestine march. So I think that as much as I don't agree with a lot of what's happening at this protest, I think that people have a right to protest, and that there should be consistency in how people are policed.
Most definitely. And this event today, this march, it's not really about Tommy Robinson, is it? Because, I mean, last year in September, I think you'll agree, having been down there, a lot of people weren't even that aware of Tommy Robinson. They were aware of the cause. And that's why the majority of folk will be down there today, is because of the direction of travel of the country.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I do think that it's an important point to make, that someone like Tommy Robinson, who does have flaws, he's not perfect, he has been released from prison quite recently, he's been able to gather this amount of people so quickly as well. I mean, it is quite remarkable, and it shows how upset and how many people feel like they can't trust the government, and they have to not even go towards a political party, because this isn't about political parties either. No. As you said, this is just a big rally that they're branding anyway as being about putting Britain first.
Most definitely. And of course there will be a minority of far-right thugs who are reprehensible, just horrible. There are extremes on both sides, aren't there? But that's not going to be the majority.
Yeah, and I don't think it will be at all. And as I said, I disagree with some of the people that they've been invited, that he's invited to speak at this rally, and I think that this is not everyone will agree with this that's watching this, but I think that the decision to ban certain speakers was actually the right thing to do, and I think that...
What, from overseas even?
Yes, because some of the comments that they made I don't think are helpful, and I think that the government should be able to say no to people coming in.
But why can't they come in, say those things, and for us to then push back and disagree?
Well, I think the problem is that if they feel like they're bringing something negative to the country, and that some of these things that people have said that have been invited, for example, Valentina Gomez, she called Shabana Mahmood like a dirty Muslim. We have someone else who was invited that after the Trump court case said that he would never believe a rape accusation from a woman anymore, even if it was brought to court. You know, these kind of things where I think actually, should they really be allowed in the country? But I think the problem here, and what a lot of people that are watching this will agree with, is the fact that there's no consistency. When we have allowed extreme Muslim hate preachers to come in this country and host events, and we're not then letting these people in, that's where there's inconsistency.
Well, that's exactly right. So there are these speakers from overseas, including Ezra Levant, who joined us on the show earlier, who's the founder of Rebel News, which is a very brave current affairs website in Canada. This guy had his visa torn up by the authorities. And his great crime is he wanted to participate in this event today, which is clearly an overcorrection. What about your generation? Because there's a common view that concerns about immigration, about the direction of the country, about a Britain that we've lost, is a concern of older people. Is that true, or do young people care as well?
I think some young people do care, but I think the problem that, you know, I'm always banging on about it, about education and what you're being taught at schools and universities, it kind of blinds you to a lot of the issues that we have regarding immigration, and they just push the positives of it and they never talk about the negatives. So I think that a lot of young people feel like that. However, I have noticed on social media that a lot of young people are moving more towards the right, and I think that they're either moving towards the extreme left or very, very right wing, and there's no in between. It's either Greens or it's reform or restore. I don't think there's not many young people that I see anyway that are passionate about the Conservatives or Labour.
And apart from a vile minority, today's event in central London won't be about skin colour, will it?
No, I don't think it will be.
I don't think that's what it's about.
And that's what Trevor Phillips says as well last time when he went.
And of course, let's not forget, this is a legendary British journalist and a British man of colour.
Yeah, who's done some amazing work as well. And I think that I don't think that this is necessarily straight away a racist event. And I think that what Keir Starmer did in branding everyone that will go today as, oh, they'll be racist, they'll be extreme, is absolutely not the right thing to do.
Well, would you agree that most Conservative and Reform UK supporters are concerned about high immigration? Would you accept that is the case?
Yeah, 100%.
Right, so most Conservative voters, most Reform voters concerned about high immigration. Well, based upon the numbers for the last election, you'll be aware of this. That's just under 12 million people, because 12 million people voted for either Reform or Conservative at the last election. 9.5 million people voted for Labour, and a good number of those folk will be concerned about immigration too. Yeah,
exactly. And I don't think that the concerns around immigration are necessarily just something that right-wing people are worried about, because even, you know,
Shabana... Go to the red wall, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that red wall is turning turquoise, if we've seen in the local elections. So I don't think that it's necessarily just a right-wing issue, and it's just people that are right-wing that are concerned about immigration. I think it's becoming much more widespread, and I think that it's something that the government do need to get a hold on. They're not getting a hold on it. And OK, Shabana Mahmood did say that she was going to introduce some measures, and maybe we'll see that happen, but I think the British public have just had enough of people promising things all the time and seeing no results, and they're just fed up with it, and I just completely understand that, because they have no trust in the political class and they have no trust in this government.
And does the rally reflect a divide now between the people and those who govern us?
Oh, 100%, because the people that will be coming to this rally today are people that are anti-establishment, and they feel, I think a lot of people that will be going will feel like no political party really serves their interests.
They don't feel
heard. And they feel lost. Yes, they feel lost, and they're politically homeless, which is why a lot of people will think, actually, today's a great opportunity to come together with all different people who have concerns and want to put Britain first. And as I said before, I am not. You know, I don't support everything that will be happening at this rally. I don't support some of the speakers, and I can't say I support everything that will happen there. However, what I would actually urge people as well, and I think Peter Bletchley made this point, that don't fall for people trying to argue with you, people trying to cause issues, because that's exactly what the government want. They want things to happen and they want things to escalate, so then they can say, look at all of these far-right fascists and look how they're behaving.
Aren't we lucky to have Ellie Hodges in the studio with us today, broadcaster and political commentator, speaking in such a balanced and intelligent way? What do you think, folks? Why is this Unite the Kingdom event happening? Are you going? Give me a call and tell me why. We'll put you on air next.
Crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in Crisis. Subscribe to the royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It is 8:50. The Unite the Kingdom march is happening in central London. Potentially 500,000 people are going to go. Why would that be? What are their concerns about the direction of travel for the country? Brian is in London. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Mark. Thank you and your staff for your colleagues for letting me on. I discussed Keir Starmer and the fact that he's meant to be an ex-attorney general. He's a forensic human rights lawyer. Now, my problem is I think he's broken international law. Because, I'll tell you why, this is pretty dry, but bear with me. The United Nations establishes the right to free political participation and expression through the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. These frameworks guarantee every citizen the right to freely and openly express and assemble or associate with political groups.
Brian, listen, an absolutely brilliant call. It's not a great line, so let us speak again in the near future. But your message is very clear, and let's get reaction from Ellie Hodges, political commentator in the studio. Brian says that Starmer is effectively breaking international law by banning people from coming to the country to participate in a free, open event.
Well, I think that the government does have a right, though, to choose who comes into the country and who doesn't, and I think that's a right that they should have.
I still think it's an own goal, banning these people. It creates more publicity. Let them come, let us hear them, let us agree or disagree with them.
Yeah, and there's a fair argument for that, but then...
You could handle one of these people in the studio, couldn't you?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And you'd love to call them out for the things that you think are wrong, and I think it would be better if they had that opportunity.
But then I feel like a lot of people will be saying we shouldn't let these Islamic hate preachers come into the country. So you need to be consistent.
Fair point. Mary is going to the Unite the Kingdom event in London. Hello, Mary.
Hello, Mark. We're
now-
on the M1 on our way.
You're on your way. You're in the M1. Who are you with, Mary?
I'm with my daughter.
Very good. Now, it's my understanding that you attended the event in September of last year as well.
Yes.
And
Yes.
tell me, what happened last year? How was it?
Wonderful. Only we couldn't get over one of the bridges. Because there were so many people, the roads were blocked. So we couldn't move. So we finished up that we did like half the march and then had to come back. But the feeling was fantastic. It was like going to a party.
A lot of people have said that. Now, Mary, it's not that easy for you to get to this march because you are an older lady, aren't you? So you've had to make a real effort to get there today.
Yes, I shall be 89 in July.
That's
amazing.
amazing.
I've got a little electric buggy that we take to park, and that's in the back of the car, and we're going there with the buggy. We're going to manage to find somewhere to park near Euston, where we've been told to go, and then we're setting off from there.
Well, you're a year off 90, and why are you going to this event today, Mary, and why are the others with you all going?
Because the simple reason that we want, as they say, actually, we want our country back. I'm an ex-nurse, Mark, and if anybody had told me when I went into nursing that I would have to look at umpteen different genders, that I would finish up that if I was a woman I was wrong, I would never have believed it. My father fought in the First World War. He was a boy soldier. He was sent to the docks in the Second World War, and then he would be turning in his grave if he could see what's happening now.
Mary...
Starmer,
yeah, go on.
Starmer is a dictator. He is nothing more. He's got a virtually all-white cabinet. He's white himself, and yet he seems to hate the white British people, of which he is part.
And Mary, what would you say to those that describe today's event as far-right or racist?
Absolute rubbish. When we went last year, we saw some Sikhs there. There were Hindus. There were black people. There were people of everything. It was nothing to do, funnily enough, with politics. We were just all asking for the same thing. We want our country to go back to what it was, not what it is now.
Mary, have a good day, stay safe, and maybe give me a call tomorrow. Let me know how it goes. There you go, Ellie Hodges. Mary, a year off 90, concerned about what's happened to the country. She doesn't sound very far right to me.
No, she doesn't. And I mean, that's amazing. And it shows how passionate people are about this country and how much people genuinely do love this country and want to see the best for it. And people express that in different ways as well. But I think that that's just an amazing call to see that someone that's nearly 90 is making the journey down here today. And I think she also made a good point about last year, how they stopped people from crossing the bridge. So that did happen because there were so many people that the police kind of all stood in line and stopped people getting through. But I think it will be really interesting today. Firstly, how many people do actually turn up. Secondly, how the police actually police this and how they go about it. And I'm sure there will be some controversies that come out of how the police deal with today. And I think it's a massive challenge. There's going to be so many people. You also have the pro-Palestine march going on at the same time. I think they've put lots of measures in place. I know they've closed, I think, like every pub around this area, around Westminster and around Trafalgar Square. So I think that it'll be really interesting to see how they police it, if they are two-tier, and we'll see what happens.
Most definitely, and it's going to be important, critically important, how the media cover this. Definitely. I don't think that their coverage of September of last year was accurate.
No, I don't think it was, except for, I know I keep talking about it, but except for what Trevor Phillips said. I think that absolutely everything that he said was a spot-on analysis.
But the numbers were disputed. The establishment media was saying is 100,000. I've seen the aerial footage. It looks like it was a lot more than that.
Yeah.
My glasses have gone flying again. It's not the day, but I've got 20/20 vision politically, so don't worry about that. That's going to be an important thing, is that the people are not gaslit about their concerns about the country, or that this event is not mischaracterised.
Yeah, and I also think it's important that, you know, as I said, I don't agree with some of the people that were invited to speak and some of the speakers, but it's still important to say that not everyone that's there is going to agree with every single person that steps onto that stage.
For sure.
And the principle of the event, which, from what I can understand, is people who love this country and want to see it change, and they want what's best for this country. And the principle of it is really good. And I just don't think that anyone should do what Keir Starmer did, which was to generalise absolutely every single person that is going to this rally as being a far-right thug.
Well, then the other thing that doesn't really fit the narrative is that many of those people at the march today will be of ethnicities.
Yeah.
And if Reform win the next election, they will be swept to power off the back of a multi-ethnic British vote.
Yeah.
And I think this is something, again, that establishment media haven't woken up to, is that it is people of all ethnicities, backgrounds, religions and races that are concerned about modern Britain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this all just comes down to, I think some of the left-wing parties, they've played into this identity politics, and some parties on the harder right do this as well.
Sure. And they're just as obsessed with skin colour.
Exactly, yeah, absolutely. But they play into this whole thing of, OK, you're this skin colour, so you must be oppressed, you're this skin colour, so you know, you must be the bully, basically. And when you do that, you're actually, I think that's actually a form of racism, because you're saying that just because they're that skin colour, this is how they're going to be treated. And I think that a lot of people that aren't white will just think, I just want to be treated based on who I am as a person, and I don't care about my skin colour. And I think that a lot of people that will be going to this rally today will think the same thing.
Well, I'm so happy that you've joined us in the studio, Ellie.
You.
Come back and see us again soon, because you talk a lot of sense. So much more to get through. Are you heading to the Unite the Kingdom rally? This is Talk Breakfast.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Three minutes past 9, top of the morning. Happy Saturday, one and all. This is Talk Breakfast. I'm Mark Dolan. Lovely to have your company. Record numbers of people watching today's show on YouTube. Head to YouTube, search Talk, hit the live button, and up we pop. Breaking this morning, Starmer knows it's over. If Andy Burnham wins the Makerfield by-election, it's our understanding that the Prime Minister will throw in the towel. Under those circumstances, an orderly transition following a rubber-stamping leadership election will see Britain under new management by the autumn. But with Andy Burnham's ambitions to take Britain back into the European single market, which would see the return of free movement, with serious questions about his handling of the grooming gangs scandal in the Northwest, with his flip-flopping on policy, his ultra-woke ideas, his left-wing economic agenda, is Andy Burnham really the answer for Britain? Meanwhile, the Unite the Kingdom event, the march, the rally, call it what you like, it's happening in central London today. Possibly 500,000 people will descend on the capital. So why are folk going? What are your concerns? Are you on your way? Give me a call. You're going to get balanced, fair, honest coverage of this major political event. So are you on the way? 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. Leave us a voice note. As the saying goes, let's talk. We'll kick off with Dolan's dispatch and be very clear that it's not far right to be concerned about unprecedented levels of legal immigration. Most people think that immigration is a wonderful thing. The correct amount, high quality, based around integration, about making a contribution. It is very much the story of these islands. But there's one statistic that should stop you in your tracks, which is that 1 in 60 people in this country, 1 in 60, arrived here from overseas in the last 5 years. You heard me right. It's unprecedented, it's outrageous, it's insane, it's economically illiterate, it's bad for society, it's bad for integration, it makes no sense. Similarly, it's not far right to be concerned about illegal immigration. 70,000 people have landed on our shores illegally since Sir Keir Smash the Gang's Starmer became Prime Minister. 70,000 people whose backgrounds we don't know because they throw their wallets, their paperwork and their phone in the sea as they cross the channel. A good number of these folk are perfectly decent people looking for a better life. It's what you would do. It is what I would do. But the border is there for the reason. And I'd like to paraphrase Emmanuel Macron, who is the president of France, who very bravely a year ago said, in regard to immigration, we cannot accept the misery of the world. It was a very brave and truthful statement. If Farage had said it, all hell would have broken loose. But because a mainstream politician says it, he is allowed that levity. He's given that freedom. The bottom line is it's not far right to want to have border control. It's not far right to hope that immigration policies can be there to serve the population, to serve the economy, to be a manageable level that our infrastructure can cope with. GP appointments, school places, the roads, the reservoirs, and of course, the housing. It's not unreasonable. It's not far right to think that with immigration should come the expectation of integration rather than what we have in our great cities, which is folk living a parallel existence, speaking another language, sometimes not following the rule of law or the British way of life. A good example would be a lovely young girl in East London who wasn't allowed to participate in a fun run in the capital city of this country because her very religious family said she can't go on this fun run because she is a woman. That should be illegal. It's egregious. It's wrong. And it's a demonstration of the catastrophic failure of our multicultural experiment. You see, we have a very successful multi-ethnic society. I'm an ethnic man myself as an Irishman. But the issue you've got is not ethnicity. It is culture. And that is why the left-wing socialist experiment of multiculturalism, which allows people to come to this country and indulge in a completely separate existence, cut off from British values, British traditions, British history, the British way of life, the British rule of law. And that's why it is failing so egregiously, which is why upwards of 500,000 people are going to descend on central London this afternoon. Now, there will be wrong-uns in that group. There will be disgusting far-right thugs. But I suspect they will be a tiny minority. My suspicion is that the vast majority of people on their way to this event in central London are concerned about a country that has changed drastically in recent years as a result of energy policies like net zero, as a result of unchecked legal and illegal immigration, as a result of wokery in our public institutions, with a national health service that thinks a woman is a chest feeder or a birthing human. No one voted for this. And no one voted for demographic change that is unprecedented in the history of this country, with 1 in 60 people having entered the UK in the last 5 years. It's insane, it's wrong, it's mad, and that is why people will be in the capital today. Of course, the Prime Minister has sought to demonise the folk going on this march today. And George, if you don't mind, keep the mic up because I'm going to live react. Give me the microphone. Well, I've got it on. Keep it up while we listen to the Prime Minister's statement. Take a listen to this. Well, that was the Prime Minister playing his old trick of demonising folk that are deeply concerned about unsustainable immigration, about the illegal boat crossings, about the shocking direction of the country. And this is not only about immigration. It's not only about wokery in our public institutions. It's not about crippling energy costs thanks to net zero. It's about the economy too. And I took a call earlier from a heroic man who has pulled an all-nighter. He's not had any sleep. He's been working in his van. He's on his way to the capital because he's so concerned about how things are playing out. Now, the implication of the Prime Minister's remarks in that video with the music bed underneath it for manipulative purposes is that this is a racist event. Now, there will be racist thugs there, and they are disgusting, reprehensible human beings. No problem. Call them out for what they are. But the vast majority are not that. Don't take my word for it. Let's hear from the legendary broadcaster and Times journalist Trevor Phillips, Sir Trevor Phillips, a British man of colour who attended the event in September of last year. And here's what he had to say.
I think the thing that marked out Saturday was that this wasn't just the sort of remnants of the old National Front or BNP, the kind of hardcore of racists who are basically in politics to essentially eliminate or get rid of from this country people like me. This was a rally of more than 100,000 people, of the sort of person that you'd meet in a country pub if you'd gone for a walk. Or if you're going to the theatre, you might line up next to while you're waiting for the loo or a drink at half-time. This was, if you like, the quiet middle Britain.
The quiet middle Britain. What a moderate, sensible and intelligent man Sir Trevor Phillips is. This is a public figure that gets it, that actually listens to the population. And that is a predominant theme of today's conversation about this event in central London. From callers, texters, people leaving voice notes. The ordinary folk of this country are struggling with the cost of living, struggling with inflation, which is caused by Rachel from accounts. Don't blame Donald Trump and the war in Iran. People are struggling financially, and they've got a country that has changed so rapidly that they feel they didn't vote for. And that is a concern shared by Brits of all backgrounds, of all ages, of all races, of all skin colours, of all religions. which is why, for example, if old Farage wins the next election, he'll be swept to power off the back of a multi-ethnic vote. And the reason why is because all Brits of all skin colours want their country back. Old Donald Trump said that he was going to make America great again. All people want now is for Britain to be Britain again. Is that too much to ask? Melanie's in Cardiff. Hi, Melanie.
Hi, good morning, Mark.
Melanie,
Lovely
why do you
programme,
think...
Thank you.
Well, it's lovely to have you on the show. Why do you think that this march is happening in London today?
Oh, if anybody's like me, Mark, I'm heartbroken. You know, I'm a woman, an elderly woman from the valleys. I was brought up in a place called Abertrydor in the valleys. I know that in the valleys they hated Margaret Thatcher and the big thing for them was the pit closures, but they're so entrenched in their ideas that they don't realise that Harold Wilson closed far more coal mines than Margaret Thatcher did. And that hatred of each other has to stop in this country. We need to unite. And I would be there, I'd love to be there, but I'm disabled, so I can't get there. But my heart is breaking.
And Melanie, why do you think folk are going to this march today?
Because they have to say, they have to stand up, they have to nail their colour to the mast and tell this tyrannical government that it has to go. And I hope Nigel Farage doesn't let us down. We're at the precipice in this country.
Melanie, I'm so glad you called, my darling, and it was a really important contribution. Call me again soon because we need to have this conversation. Melanie, very supportive of what's happening in the capital. Dan's in Liverpool. Morning, Dan.
Morning, Mark. I hope you're having a wonderful day today.
Well, listen, all the better for hearing your cheery, lovely, dulcet tones.
Oh, thank you. I do have a very weird twang to my voice, I will say.
Oh, it's perfect. Now, listen, what do you think's going on today? Why is this march happening?
I think the reason this march is happening is everyone in the UK is in favour of multiculturalism. The problem is we don't like balkanisation. My father came from England to Iran, and he had to do that after the Shah went down, and he had to legally immigrate over here. He, every single day, kisses the ground of England's soil. There's not a day he doesn't wave the England flag, but I don't know. And the problem is we've had people come in, and my father, my grandfather, and their side would happily drag these people out who don't respect the English way or English law. The problem is, though, we've had people come in, they don't respect our laws, they don't respect our people, they definitely don't respect our women, and people have had enough. And unfortunately, if reasonable people won't control our borders, unreasonable people will eventually start to. And this is the line where we need for reasonable people to stand in line before unreasonable people start to take action. I hope that makes sense.
Well, you make so much sense. So, Dan, you are a British man of ethnic background, proving my point that it's not about skin colour.
It's never about skin colour. I want us to live in a world like Martin Luther King. I'm 33 years old. I'm born in 93. I grew up with the idea of we judge people by the character of their action, not by the colour of their skin. And it feels like, unfortunately, we were so close to seeing that dream realised. And the left wing in 2016, because they hated Donald Trump so much, they brought those embers of racism back to light. And I hate the fact, do you know how much I love this country? I'm someone who, I call myself a Mongol to my friends. It's a little running joke. But if it meant someone like me had to leave the country to make England better, I would do it in a heartbeat because I love this land more than anything.
Well, you know, may God forbid that ever happened, Dan. We're both the children of immigrants. My folks came here in the 60s. It sounds like your old man came over in the late 70s, early 80s. And they arrived, my parents are Irish, they didn't have to give up their Roman Catholic beliefs. They went to church every Sunday, they drank Guinness, they remained very Irish. But what they did is they came here to participate in the British project.
Exactly, and that's what I mean by we love integration, it's not balkanisation. I treat it like, imagine if you've got a chicken curry, you can have all the ingredients mixed together, but without the chicken being England, it's not a chicken curry, and you're missing a key ingredient.
That is a great metaphor. I mean, isn't that the point? Now, it's what I've been saying for quite a while now, Dan, is we just need to make Britain again, that we have a multi-ethnic society which is very successful, but we need to unite around one idea, one set of values.
I'm going to end it on this point, and hopefully it might make you laugh, and it might make some of the audience laugh as well. I call it the toilet seat analogist. When you go to a toilet, and if it's one of your family members has left a mess, you sort of let it slide, and like, if a guest comes to your house and leaves a mess in the toilet, you really get upset about that. And unfortunately, there's been too many guests leaving too many messes in the toilet. And on that, I hope you have a lovely day.
Dan, listen, brilliantly put, and I'm so grateful that you've called the show. You must call me again soon. You talk a lot of sense. May God bless you and your lovely Iranian family as well. Dan in Liverpool there, whose dad came to Britain in the early 80s, but very much wanted the country to retain its values, retain its traditions. And this is what I'll say 1 trillion times. We have a successful multi-ethnic society, but it must be united around British values and the British way of life. And that's what the flag is about. And I suspect for most people, that's what today's march is about. Lots more to come. Are you going? Give me a call, 0344 499 1000, Talk Breakfast.
Crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royal tea from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in crisis. Subscribe to the Royal Tea from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It is 9:23. Record numbers of people are watching this show on YouTube. If so, it's great to have you on board. We're bringing you balanced, fair, honest and truthful coverage of the Unite the Kingdom March, which is happening in central London. It's gathering now. Many thousands will be there, possibly 500,000 by the time it's done. Are you going? If so, let me know why. I'll be taking your calls on that shortly and your voice notes. With me live in the studio, Sophia Slay, Whitehall correspondent at The Sun. Sophia, I do want to get into this by-election story and Andy Burnham, but just your headline thoughts about this event in central London today. Clearly, there will be a minority of far-right thugs who are reprehensible and disgusting, but a good chunk of the folk, the majority most likely, will be going into central London today because they're unhappy about the direction of travel of the country.
You would very much hope so. Look, I think there's two protests going on today, two very large protests. And I think at the end of the day, you know, there's going to be idiots in both camps, whatever happens. I think it'd be a miracle if there's not. But people are angry and people have a right to protest. I don't always have much sympathy for the police in this country, but I think today I feel quite sorry for them. I think it's going to be one hell of an operation.
Most definitely. Now, you are umbilically linked to the concerns and worries about your readers at the Sun newspaper. I have the same relationship with our viewers and listeners here at Talk. And I just spoke earlier to the political correspondent, political communicator, Ellie Hodges, and I pointed out that the best part of 12 million people voted either Reform or Conservative at the last election. So the idea that being concerned about unprecedented levels of illegal or legal immigration are not far right, not divisive, not extreme views.
No, not remotely. I mean, it's quite a mainstream opinion. You know, I know plenty of people that vote Labour, that are members of the Labour Party, that do have these concerns, and dare I say, I actually know people that vote Green that have concerns.
Well, there you go. So if I've given you that figure of 11.5, 12 million Tory and Reform voters in 2024, you know, 9.5 million people voted Labour, probably at least of those worried too.
Yeah,
at least half.
And I think the problem over the last few years, probably about 10 years, if not longer, is that there's been sort of this kind of a sort of liberal establishment class telling anyone that sort of raises concerns about immigration that they're a bigot. I mean, you think back to the Gordon Brown, Gillian Duffy comment.
When he called her a bigoted woman.
Yeah, and I think you look at that, and we look at that now with our eyes in 2026. Is what she said that abnormal?
She said immigration is too high. I would argue that she was a portent of the future, that she was Nostradamus, that she probably called it right. And I don't think that the vast majority of people watching this show, listening and reading your paper are anti-immigration. It's been about the scale that people didn't feel they voted for, and it's about those boat crossings, which really, really are, so egregious from a variety of points of view.
Totally.
Economic, national security, the safety of citizens. It's not right, is it? But meanwhile, we have the small matter of who is going to be our Prime Minister in a few months' time.
Oh dear, yes.
You don't get a break, you don't get a day off, do you?
No, I feel... My brain, when I came in to see you just now, it's scrambled. I'm like scrambled egg. I think, there's a lot... Everyone sort of goes, the blooming media whipping these things up. I tell you what, there might have been a bit of a feeding frenzy from my colleagues in the media, but this all started with Labour MPs. This is all on the politicians. This is them causing absolute carnage this week, and naked ambition.
And the Labour Party are behaving just as the Tories did in office, except it was figures like Keir Starmer that were calling out this madness before the last election, and now they're up to the same thing.
Yep, the head in hands. Honestly, I think I sort of said to some of my friends in Labour, I said, look, the next time you sort of use that phrase, 14 years of chaos to me, I'm just going to say, well, you've had less than 2 years and you're potentially plunging the economy into chaos with all these games. A leadership race over the summer, that's not good for the economy. I was speaking to someone in, there's a lot of anger within Labour. People aren't happy about what's happening. I did have someone say to me yesterday, who was absolutely furious over what his colleagues were doing, who said this could be, Andy Burnham could be our Liz Truss moment. They're that angry about it.
Well, the challenge that any future leader has is that they will need to take the party in a leftward direction, won't they? Because when you hear figures on the backbenches, when you hear the unions, when you hear party members saying we need a more bold approach to government, they do mean more left-wing, don't they?
Totally. I think that's the problem. You've seen with Sir Keir Starmer, you know, he's sort of that kind of centrist candidate. He was trying to shave $5 billion off of welfare about a year or so ago, and mass rebellion from the backbenchers. They wouldn't have it. He was sort of crushed by essentially quite a soft left base within his party.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, you know, Wes Streeting, who is on the sort of right of the Labour Party, say he wins, say there's a leadership contest and he becomes the next Prime Minister, I think he'd have, I think it's difficult anyway, but I think he'd have a nightmare trying to get that herd to move, get them to do what he wants.
He wouldn't get anything through.
No. So I think Andy Burnham seems to be, you know, let's say he wins this by-election, there's just so much sort of love for him and belief within Labour MPs that he's their sort of saviour. John McDonnell, you remember him, the former Shadow Chancellor, but said yesterday, you know, well, if Andy Burnham becomes PM, he's got to bring Jeremy Corbyn back into the party. I understand people in Burnham's camp weren't too happy about him saying that.
No, and you've got someone like Clive Lewis, who is on the very, very ultra-left of the party, who's been backing Burnham since day one, which would be a concern for the bond markets.
Oh, God, yeah.
Who don't really want a change of Prime Minister or a new Chancellor.
No, I mean, you saw what happened before when we thought we might lose Rachel Reeves, when there was, I think that was just after the welfare vote, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And she was sort of seen crying. The markets basically saved her job because for the markets, Rachel's the best case scenario. They don't want a more left-wing Chancellor. I mean, you know, I was speaking to someone yesterday who was saying, you know, we're talking about cost of living. They're in Labour. They're saying we're talking about cost of living and bills. You know, we run the risk of, you know, sending mortgage rates and all this kind of chaos on people's bills and their everyday lives just by mucking around for our own personal ambition.
Now, we've had this conversation before we came on air, which is we both don't know the politics of Greater Manchester that closely. What we know is Andy Burnham is very popular in the area, but I think for a majority of voters. He's a local lad, born in the area as well. But Sir John Curtis was on the programme earlier, legendary polling expert, and he said, well, be that as it may, Reform are favourites to win this seat.
Yeah, they are. And it was interesting, I spoke to a few people in Reform yesterday, and they said confidently, if Andy Burnham wasn't running in that seat, we think we could win it. We think it would be ours. But there is the Burnham factor, they called it, in that seat, which makes it much more complicated, much more on a knife edge. And even though, I obviously I'm not from there, I don't quite understand it, but he is loved. People do like him. He is very popular in that region, and it totally skews the statistics when he is in that race. So I think it's going to be a real make or break election. I mean, you know, like if he loses it, I mean, big smile on Nigel's face. He's going to be, you know, expecting to be the next Prime Minister. If Andy wins it, I mean, he's going to be expecting to be the Prime Minister probably within weeks. It's a huge by-election, this, massive.
Well, I'm so excited to read your coverage in the Sun newspaper. Sophia, more power to you. Grab a double espresso.
I need it.
And back to your typewriter. Do they still have typewriters and fax machines? Sophia Slay, Whitehall correspondent at The Sun, which is #1 for political scoops. Great to see you again, Sophia. Are you going to the Unite the Kingdom march? I'm speaking to someone that's been there from early this morning. That's next.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It is 9:33, and the Unite the Kingdom protest, the march, the rally, call it what you like. It's an event. It's happening in central London, and somebody that's in attendance is Free Speech Shell, who's been campaigning on the issues that are being highlighted at this event for many months now, even years. Hi, Shell. Great to see you again.
Hello, Mark. Great to see you as well.
Can I say you look splendid in your Union Jack dress? You've got echoes there of Jerry Halliwell, Spice Girls, Cool Britannia.
Well, I'm trying to bring back the 90s British that we remember. Britain was a great place then, so I think we needed a bit of more nostalgia to bring the event to life today.
And I think, Shell, that you didn't expect that you would become a political activist all those years ago, did you?
No, not at all. You know, I'm a mum, I'm a wife, I work. I never in my wildest dreams thought that I'd get into any sort of activism work, but I just couldn't sit back and watch any longer what's happening in the country.
And what do you think are the number one issues that are being represented by this event today? What are the biggest concerns for the many thousands on their way?
I think it's that they don't feel that the government are listening to them, and that they feel that they are people that are of, you know, privilege. They don't understand what it's like to live as a working class or a middle class. And I also think that, you know, one of the main issues in this country is illegal migration. It's out of control. And, you know, just as an example, Keir Starmer's banned all of these speakers from attending, yet he can't have the same force when we have these illegal men crossing over the channel.
It's a good point. You 10 broadcasters and journalists can't get into the country, but 70,000 illegals can.
Yeah, it's just disgraceful. And also with a lot of these men that are coming over, you know, we are hearing more and more of really horrific crimes happening to British nationals. And he doesn't really seem to be taking that seriously, but he seems to take a major interest in this rally today. But he's not prepared to listen to what the British people are saying.
And what are your thoughts about the Met Police deploying 4,000 officers and using facial recognition technology? I don't remember them using facial recognition technology for the weekly so-called peace marches.
I think it's extremely two-tier. I think it's also to frighten and scare people, to make them feel like they're doing something wrong and that they're going to face arrest for simply just expressing free speech. We've got people that are actively walking the streets that are being hateful to the Jewish community, and nothing is being done about this. Why is there not facial recognition at these Free Palestine demos when people are chanting really horrific things about Jews?
Most definitely. And what do you think the atmosphere is going to be like today? Can you pick up a mood yet, or is it too early?
I think it's electric already. People are walking around already with a smile on their face. You know, there's unity. There's not people that I've seen that are causing any trouble. If anything, it feels like the old Britain, really. You know, people are proud to be British. They're showing their patriotism today.
And this isn't about skin colour, because that's not what Britishness means, is it? There will be lots and lots of ethnic British people at the event today.
Exactly that. It's not about colour. And I believe personally that if you come to this country and you assimilate and you know, take on what I would call a moral compass, then you are seen as British. And there are plenty of people in the crowds already of different colours, different religions. So this thing about race is really, I feel, to gaslight people into thinking that this is wrong, what we're doing today.
Did you catch much of the Prime Minister's video address in regard to this march today? Did you see that yesterday?
Yes, I did, and I thought it was absolutely disgusting that he is smearing the majority of this country as far right and extreme, when we've got thousands and thousands of extremists living in our country that are committing and attempting to commit crimes against British nationals, and a lot of this is based on their faith, and he doesn't seem to be doing anything about that. He's not coming out as full force to them.
You're right about that. So, for example, the grooming gangs was a racially aggravated crime because it was the religious faith and background of the majority of those men, that was a factor in what happened.
It is, and we do have to have conversations about culture and how cultural differences, especially around women and girls, needs to be addressed, because where we are a Western country, women are now frightened to walk the streets, and this should not be happening. We shouldn't be scared that we're going to be hurt or raped or murdered. And we do have the problem, obviously, with British men, but this is from men who have a cultural belief that women are second class, and it shouldn't be, allowed in this country.
And Shell, this goes beyond immigration, doesn't it? Culture, nationhood. People are struggling as well. You've got inflation, you've got fuel prices, the cost of energy. People are being laid off. We've got an economy that's not working for ordinary people.
Yes, exactly that. I think that the problem is that people in power, it's a cycle of privilege. I think they make promises that they're going to make changes. And once they get in and they realise that they're not actually in power and that it is the elite, they then actually just rip the system for everything they can. And they bring in their friends and they set up their companies, and they all end up receiving funds from taxpayers' money. And it's us that is actually worse off. And we shouldn't live like this. We're not a third world country.
And you and I have both got skin in the game, as well as many of my viewers and listeners, Shell, because we have kids and we're worried about the future.
Definitely. I mean, I've got boys, and I also worry about what the future looks like for them. Are they going to be held back from opportunities because illegal migrants are going to have those opportunities given to them first? And I feel like I'm not just fighting for women here, but I'm also fighting for young men, because at the moment it seems that all they have in their lives is this gang mentality. We've got a knife crime epidemic that's not being addressed either. We've got young men that need direction and support in this country, and they're not receiving it.
Most definitely. And it's not great, is it, that public organisations like the RAF, the Royal Air Force, won't hire people based upon skin colour. It's that kind of mad woke stuff which also angers people.
Well, it's a suicidal empathy, because you should be hiring the best of the best in our military and our armed forces. We shouldn't be hiring people based on the colour of their skin, because that's actually a disservice to them. They should be in roles that they're very good at, not just because of the colour of their skin.
Do you think the country can be saved? Can we make Britain great again, Shell? Can we get our country back, as many people will be hoping today?
I think we can, but I think people need to be brave, and they need to start using their voices and actually speaking out and stop being scared, because if they don't, they're going to lose their voice, and the country that they love will be gone forever.
Before I let you go, Shell, what would you say to those that would argue that this event today is rooted in racism, discrimination and far-right hatred?
I would say that they're very narrow-minded, and they're believing information that's being put out to them intentionally, and that they should actually come along and they would see that it's a very different thing to what they actually believe. And if they were here, they would be embraced.
Shell, I'm so grateful that you've joined us on the show this morning, and perhaps we could speak again tomorrow to look back on how it all went. Stay safe and have a brilliant day, maybe even a pint if you've got time. I'd love to buy you a drink. Shell, we'll catch up soon. Free Speech Shell, who is a Braintree and Wethersfield protest group member. Thank you for that. Khalid is in Leicester. Hello, Khalid. Thank you for calling us. How are things in the East Midlands this morning? Oh, we just got to sort your line out there. My goodness, technology is not on our side, is it? Listen, what we'll do, we'll try and take Khalid after the break, because we've got so much to get through. Don't go anywhere. This is Talk Breakfast.
crown is facing its gravest test in decades, and the royalty from Talk is your front row seat. With royal reputations under pressure and probing questions about public trust, we unpack every twist and revelation with the biggest names in the business. From the throne room at Buckingham Palace to a mansion in Montecito, we follow every royal ripple. Never miss a moment of The Crown in Crisis. Subscribe to The Royalty from Talk on the app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Are you going to the Unite the Kingdom event in central London today? Here is a voice note.
Good morning, Mark. Simon from Ringwood. Regarding the marches, by the way, great show so far. If we get the gaslighting, the finger wagging, the over-sincere, oh, the far right are coming for us type address that Starmer has portrayed, if we see that in the news bulletins tonight when the mainstream media report on these marches, I really fear that people will not like this. I really fear if we have a long, hot summer, which we'll probably do because of climate change, this country may be a tinderbox if we keep continually getting gaslit by the authorities. Honestly, it does my goat in, and I hope everybody in the march stays safe and behaves, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you for a great voice note. People have had enough, and it's not an extreme view to take. Stephen in London says, Mark, Notting Hill Carnival, 423 arrests. Palestine Action protests, 890 arrests. Unite the Kingdom March, 25 arrests. Yeah, we listened to Starmer's rhetoric. Anyone would think we were expecting a civil war. And this from an unnamed texter. Good morning, Mark. Immigration is at a flashpoint because the authorities could stop it. They could stop the boats. They could deport illegal migrants that attack British women, but they won't. And why won't they? That is the million-dollar question. Why will they not when they could? Some folk would say it's by design. Khalid is in the East Midlands. Morning, Khalid.
Morning, how are you doing, Mark?
I'm very well. Lovely to have you back on the show. What do you make of our conversation this morning?
Well, I've heard bits of it. Tell you the truth, I've been at work as well. But anyway.
You're a busy man, I know. You're running a shop, aren't you?
Yeah.
So listen, what do you think? What provoked you to call?
So the thing is, look, we should all be united against oppression, against any sort of crime whatsoever, regardless of the person's race, religion, background, and what ethnicity. So the problem we have is when there's selective moral justice, selective application of law, selective condemnation of acts of oppression. This is where the problem lies. We have to all unite against oppression of any sort. The problem like we have is that we allow some and we disregard some. This is where the problem lies. I'm saying we should all, regardless of, like I said, I grew up, born, bred here, grew up here, been to the system here, got friends from all backgrounds, and we keep in touch even now after 50 odd years. Right, but the thing is, there has to be, we have to go back to basics. What sort of life are we bringing in? What sort of life are we showing our future generations?
Most definitely. And Khalid, you obviously, your family have an ethnic background. I'm the son of immigrants myself, of Irish people. And is the answer not to unite around Britishness and get that back? Because many people feel we've lost our British identity.
No, I don't think so. I don't think. You see, when you say British identity, you got to determine first of all what is British identity. You see, people have different interpretations of that.
Well, I suppose it's women being equal. It's going for a pint. It's fair play. It's the rule of law. It's democracy. It's open markets. That kind of thing. Free speech. Jewish people being safe. There you go.
But the thing is, Mark, right, that with all due respect, if you look at the ONS, for example, 900,000 women up to the end of 2025, were sexually assaulted, and they weren't done by immigrants. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be fair, and you got to be just in your arguments. You got to go with the facts, and not scaremongering. The point is this is a lot of hype and scaremongering which takes place, which what do you call it? Destabilizes, disunites the public, and we're facilitating this anger, this racism, and this hatred, and which can also lead to violence. So we have to be careful in what we say and how we say, especially with the media. You have an added responsibility, and even to your own future generations. I mean, in years to come, for example, they will look back and say, "Oh yeah, we saw what happened in Gaza. We saw what happened in Iraq. We've seen all the evidence. What did you do to try and prevent this?" Are we going to say, "No, actually, we facilitated it. We encouraged it. We were part of it. We supported it"? Of course not. You don't want that to be part of your legacy. You'd rather say, you know what? No, actually, we try to stop oppression, regardless of who was the oppressor. We tried to be fair. We tried to be honest. We wanted everybody to have a life. We wanted everybody to have a decent standard of living. But otherwise, we're going to be, in the future, we're not all going to live forever. We're all going to go one day. But what is going to be our legacy? You have to really introspect. We all have to really introspect that, what am I leaving for my future generations?
Khalid, what a brilliant call, and I'm so glad you called. And it's all about opinions, isn't it? I know you're a busy man, you're running your shop, and you've, expressed a sort of counter view in regard to the divisive politics that we're now seeing. And I think you're not 100% happy about the tone and mood of the march in central London today, the United Kingdom. Khalid, thank you for that. All opinions are welcome. We'll catch up with you soon. Have a good day. You are listening to Talk Breakfast. It is 9:50, as always, at this point in the show. I'm delighted to say we welcome Steve Denyer, star of Virgin Radio. Hello, Steve.
Hello, good morning.
Top of the morning to you.
Nice to see you.
Listen, I won't ask for your opinions about the big political stories of the day, because this is when we have some fun. And by the way, talking of fun, TFI Friday seems to be going very well.
Yeah, episode number 13 last night. It actually airs on Channel 4 at the moment at 5 minutes past 11. There's a funny little moment. If anyone's watching it at the moment, do you want to see me? This is how the episode ended last night. Should we have a little look?
Go for it.
What is going on here?
All right, coming up on next week's TFI. We have absolutely no idea.
That is Steve Denyer in a gorgeous,
That's
luscious,
quite concerning, isn't it?
Blonde wig.
Yeah.
For those listening on the radio, you've got lovely cheekbones, and it brings
Thank
out
you
your
very
eyes.
much. Lovely of you to say.
Well, at TFI on YouTube, check it out. Massive entertainment.
Yeah, we had Danny Dyer in, actually, because Arrivals 2 has just dropped, so that's something fun to watch on Disney+, and he was talking about that and how, he's just a national treasure now. So that was great to have him on. He starts the episode. So have a little look. It's on our YouTube page, Virgin Radio UK. Every week we pick a different year, and I desperately try not to give away the year.
Because you always say the year about 2 minutes in.
You know what? And maybe even before that. We're going to take you to a year now where Margaret Thatcher had been our Prime Minister for 2 years. She was 55. The Queen was 55. The world was getting ready for Charles and Diana, the wedding. They were actually getting on for a couple of months during this year. Also, the most shocking event. And have a go at this year. If you think you know what the year is, providing I don't give it away, let us know. Message in. This was the big shocker of the year. The Pope and the assassination attempt. Take a look at this.
A terrible quiet fell on the thousands who were gathered at St. Peter's Square at the Vatican today. A shocked quiet. 10,000 or more had come to receive the blessing of Pope John Paul. Instead, amongst the cheering and the peal of bells announcing the arrival of the Pope, they heard gunfire and saw the Pope turn pale and collapse, bloody, into the arms of his aides. Pope John Paul II had been shot. A Turkish terrorist who had threatened to kill the Pope 2 years ago is being held tonight by Italian police, the main suspect in the shooting.
Mercifully, the Pope survived.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And that was amazing. I mean, bearing in mind, it was the same year as Reagan and the assassination attempt on him, but the Pope did survive. And even more surprising, he met the attacker after he survived. I don't know if you remember. I remember seeing the images of this. He visited the attacker in prison and basically forgave him. Incredible moments.
An
isn't
incredible moment, and of course that awful attack saw the birth of the Pope-mobile.
It did.
Which
It
is
did.
a special vehicle that he could travel in, standing up, waving at crowds, but protected behind a glass screen.
Yes, he was in a Pope-mobile then. It didn't have the glass screen.
Oh, is that right?
So it was basically, it was just the vehicle, if you like, without the protection. But you look at what's happened recently with the Trump assassination attempts, and just to think this was still going on all the way back in this mystery year. So that sent shockwaves around the world. We have to talk about Eurovision. It's happening tonight.
I'm very
excited. There was a survey out this week saying our favourite Eurovision track of all time was by this band, because this band back in this year won it for us. Take a look.
Well, I remember watching that live at the time, and
you do.
I will have been about 8 years of age, and that was a moment where the whole country watched Eurovision.
Yes,
everybody. It was like the Super Bowl,
and we did well. I mean, so when you look back at this particular decade, we were always in the top 5, and most of the time in the top 3. Eurovision was a funny thing back in this year. They had an orchestra on stage that had to do every single song. Everybody in the audience was in evening attire. It couldn't be more different to what you were going to expect tonight. Huge controversy with the ripping of the skirts.
Well, that was the big moment. I remember we all watched it and we were absolutely gasping when they're wearing normal clothes, if you're listening on the radio, and then the girls ripped off the skirts.
The skirt rips, yeah.
And then you see a lot of Cheryl Baker. And a lot of the other lady whose name escapes me now is a very nice lady. So
the blonde lady, yeah.
But both, I mean, legendary. By the way, I mean, what was great at the heart of that performance was a great song, Making Your Mind Up, a cracking tune.
Yeah, absolutely. And a band that were put together purely for Eurovision. So they'd answered an advert to be part of this band, and their sole purpose was to get together, look the part, come up with the song, and everybody loved it. The whole of Europe. I mean, there were 20 other countries.
And Bucks Fizz went on to be quite a successful band, and they had other hits, including Land of Make Believe and a few other hits.
Yeah, other hits. They were involved in a coach crash in 1984. Do you remember when a couple of the members were really... And then that was like the beginning of their demise. They started falling out, even to this day. And I speak to Cheryl Baker quite a lot on my Virgin Radio 80s show. Even to this day, they're not speaking. So there's 2 different Bucks Fizz bands. I think one of them's called The Fizz.
Yeah, that's right.
And there's lots of battles
David
about...
Van Day, who came in later.
That's right.
So there's a lot of drama, and but you know, at the heart of it, a great story.
Yeah, and the world loved us, and you know, the rest of Europe loved us off the back of this, and we won it. We won it in Ireland.
My folks are Irish, so the UK did well. It was always there or thereabouts in the 80s, and the Irish just kept winning it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. The Irish won it the year before this year, which I haven't given away yet. This is amazing. We've got 4 minutes to go.
But Ireland kept winning. At a certain point, they were saying that the public was saying, we've got to stop winning this, because every time you win, you have to stage it. Yes. And then it costs you a fortune.
And people are saying that tonight Australia could win it, which would be interesting if they have to stage it next year, because what time of the day will it go out?
Yes,
and
the cost of travelling there. But Australia, have we got any chance of winning tonight, do you think?
Maybe. We're split. Half the people think it's rubbish. The other half think it's genius, the fact that the song title's German and the bits that people sing back is in German. So we might win it. Apparently that's what you need. You need a catchy track that the rest of Europe can sing along to. It involves them. You might get the votes, so watch this space. Can we talk about Superman 2?
Oh, let's do it.
Huge movie. I've got a clip. Terence Stamp in stockings. Look at this.
Superman, can you hear me? Superman, where? Who is this Superman? You'll find out, General. And when you do... Come to me, Superman. If you dare, I defy you. Come and kneel before Zod. Superman, thank God. I mean, get him! Come to me, son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod.
I mean, that was the beginning of the superhero movie, wasn't it?
Really was. Kneel before Zod. is the most memorable quote from this film. They made Superman, the first movie.
Is that
Superman
your chat-up line, by the way?
I've used it several times.
And has it worked?
Yeah, usually in a darkened room on a Saturday evening.
Anyone watching knows I'm kneeling as we speak.
Yes, indeed. You're such a tall man. You don't even need a chair, do you? The amount of money you earn here, it's like a wallet.
Far too much.
Yeah.
What a brilliant movie franchise it was, and how wonderful was Christopher Reeve, who really looked like Superman.
I just think the greatest Superman that we ever had, really.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's because we grew up with those movies. They made 1 and 2 together at exactly the same time, cost-cutting, and Terence Stamp, you know, went down in history as one of the ultimate baddies. I think most of us saw that movie as kids and were terrified by those baddies that were beamed down. Do you remember that really famous scene in the Situation Room in the White House where they meet the president? It's a great film. I don't know, 2 and 3 were great. 3 was when Superman turned bad, do you remember?
I do.
And he started doing bad things, and he straightened the Leaning Tower of Pizza.
He did, and he went to a bar and he was flicking peanuts at the mirror and drinking whiskey, and he didn't shave either.
That's it.
It's a great storytelling and a classic movie franchise.
Absolutely great one. The year is, we've got a few people guessing the wrong year, but it is early 80s, and it is 1981.